Welcome back to the party, everybody. I am your host, Lutch, aka the Indian Jesus, here to resurrect the second coming of common sense. Everybody hit that like and subscribe. You know I would do it for you, and let's party. Shout out to the co-host, Morty. We got Gabriel in the back just figuring out some audio stuff, but we are finally going through the Andrew Wilson and Rachel Wilson debates that we have been keeping on the backlog for a little while. Shout out to Nick Lou Caddy. Welcome to the party. Very good to see you. Hey, we got Gabriel just figuring out some audio issues. How you doing, brother? Oh, you're muted on your phone. Oh. Yeah, it's gonna go back and forth. So if you mute if you turn down the volume on your computer, then it won't come through your phone.
Thank you.
Let's see if I say it again.
What about now?
Yeah, so you turn because that's coming from your computer and then it's going through your phone. So just turn the volume so that you can't hear the computer while you're figuring all that out from your phone. Yeah, there you go.
Let's try now.
There we go. That's what we're talking about. Shout out to Liberty Plus TV. Welcome to the party. Yes, it is 9/11. Dilly to 9/11. Another year. What is that? 2021? 24, I mean, something like that. I don't know. I'm terrible at math. Yeah, we are finally going through all of this stuff. I know you guys have been waiting for it. And I want Gabriel to be able to join me. So here we are. Anything that you want to say about the whole experience before we dive in?
The entire experience. Well, first of all, I'm very grateful for James Modern Day Debate for even having this opportunity to expand from the YouTube page to the growth to the actual live event itself, which was very entertaining nonetheless, especially out in the lobby, especially what the location is. Again, for the people who are actually expecting professionalism to the highest degrees of wealth being on top of it, yeah, that was not the case, by the way. They're basically growing, but at a position of as what it is. They're new, they're growing, and
that's a testament to them that, that people expect them to be perfect when it's not any, rinky-dink organization, but, they're just like us, starting up and they don't have very much resources than any of us. I mean, they got better cameras and more people view their stuff, but, they're just doing the damn thing. So definitely appreciate James and Uncensored America, the guys who also helped put this together. But just overall, how did you feel like you did in terms of presenting your ideas and taking on Andrew's ideas?
Remember, this is all new to me, so I'm straight up a novice, a beginner. To be honest, I was just that random addition that should never even happen. I just got it through email, and I'm like, you know what? The first step is always the hardest to me, and in my position, I have to overcome it, even if that means I am so unprepared into doing it. Because again, the opportunities in school itself, especially at the level of school, there's many unfortunates in not having conversational discussions. It's really just the student, the teacher. Here's your tests, here's your studies, go home, work. The opportunities weren't there, and it's hard to aim for that goal while having those doubts and you letting those doubts restrict you. No, you just got to go through it. You got to go break through it. Even if that means on the other end, there's the expectation where majority of times you're going to be looking like a fool or a joke. And you know what? Hit me. I got no problem. I appreciate it. It thickens my skin. And it's really the verbal debating aspect itself, even though, again, it wasn't professional debating. This is more like on the spot. Here's the question. Best of luck, children.
Yeah,
It
right.
just
We had no prep time, and
no.
we'll definitely bring up that portion of it as we get there. But well said, absolutely. And it's not like there's a class for this. It's not. Well, I mean, they have debate class, but it's not the same thing. And when people are good at this, which love them, hate them, or otherwise, Andrew is good at this. It is very easy for him to make you look like a fool, but I think we did not too bad. So let's dive right in. I don't think I put them in the exact order, but I tried to. I don't remember exactly which order they came out, but the first one is rights don't actually exist. There is only force. So let's dive right in. Gabriel, if you want me to pause to add anything, just let me know.
You're passing your own form of Sharia law. It's your own form of Sharia law. I made up a bunch of values. Yeah. I appeal to them, and I'll use force to uphold them.
Why is that a bad thing?
To uphold them. I'm not the one who makes a claim Sharia law is bad. That would be atheist, right?
I don't appeal to a book that's 1,500 years old. I appeal to logic and reason.
You appeal to a document that's 200 years old.
No, I don't. What document?
Constitution.
I don't appeal to the Constitution.
So then you don't think you have a right to speech?
It's all arbitrary, though. I think whether it's coming from a Christian side or a
so
secular
if it's
side
all arbitrary, right, then why can't I get a bunch of men together with machine guns to go and enforce my ethics? If you can get a bunch of men with machine guns to come enforce my rights.
I mean, again, I agree with you. We could do that. I think we would agree that's probably not the best way to handle it.
I'm not sure that I would agree that it's not
okay.
the best way to handle it.
Of course not, because then that would mean that an atheist and I are saying something that is similar. Shout out to Equality and Deference because vagina over on Rumble. Welcome, welcome, welcome. So it is indeed curious that Andrew the Destroyer Wilson didn't give the subject until moments before the discussion. Yeah, I really did not appreciate that. But like Gabriel said, we do what we got to do. All right, let's do it.
My name is Andrew Wilson, host of The Crucible, popular entertainment channel on YouTube. And today I'm going to be debating 5 different people on 5 different topics for 5 minutes. My next topic is rights don't actually exist, only force.
All right, shout out to Mike. So we're going to be going through this like we would any other reaction. I'm going to, we're going to react to what they're saying and, where they could have done better, so on and so forth. And then hopefully Gabriel will have some tips for me and I'll have some tips from Gabriel and should be fun. But Mike is up. Let's go.
Rights don't exist.
That's correct.
Do you mind elaborating for me? Just
yeah. Well, can you taste a right, touch it, smell it?
No.
So these are just conceptual?
Possibly, yeah.
Yeah. So then they don't exist?
Should we not act as if they do, though?
So even right there, it's like you are admitting that this is just a basic statement of fact. They don't actually exist. You can't touch them, so they don't exist, which, is not my position. But it's like, why are you putting that forth then if you think it's such a basic thing? I thought this was supposed to be about atheism.
Not the question, though.
That's fair.
We can move to that. I'm fine with that. But we need to establish.
Exactly. He's like, well, that's not the question. But we just agreed on the question.
That's not the question, though.
That's fair.
We can move to that. I'm fine with that. But we need to establish they don't exist, right?
I'm tempted to agree with you up front. Yeah, they probably don't.
So anytime you say that a person has a right.
I was going to get there, but Equality's like, but God does totally exist. Well, we'll get there, but exactly.
I'm tempted to agree with you up front. Yeah, they probably don't.
So anytime you say that a person has a right or human right or this type of right, what you're really saying is that there should be some type of force doctrine which is applied in maintaining that a person can and always will be allowed to do X.
Okay. So, sorry, I just want to understand your position better, so I'm going to pivot a little bit. Like, you're Christian, if I understand. So, aren't rights kind of fundamental to your belief, or do you? No? Okay.
No, duties are fun. So, to me, a right.
So now notice we are 1 minute in and we still, we being them two, still don't really know what the conversation is. That means it's a bad prompt. The prompt should be, here's what I think. I agree. I disagree. And here's why. And if you're coming to argue with atheists, then bringing these esoteric political beliefs, it's a weird move. It's a power move.
It's an entitlement absent a duty.
Okay.
That's what I would consider a right to be. So, like, you have a right to vote, right?
Yes.
Okay. Do you have to vote?
No.
Okay. You have a right to own a gun.
Right.
But do you have to own a gun?
Right.
You have a right to speech, but do you have to, right? So there's no duties with these entitlements, right?
Okay.
Since there's no duties with these entitlements, there's entitlements, period.
Mhm.
But what you're really saying when you grant a right or when you say my rights, you're talking about force, because it's always going to reduce to force upholding a right.
Well, he said, "Can you touch a duty, Andrew?" I think he's the kind of guy that does shit right into his hand and throw it in the toilet when he's in the garbage. But that's just me. That's the vibe I get from him.
Force, because it's always going to reduce to force upholding a right, no matter what. So basically, everything inside of a society which is secular, right? It's just really we're just always talking about force.
So you think that duties are objective in some sense, though? I guess I am genuinely a little confused by where we're going with this.
Yeah, I'm just saying.
Yep. Again, almost 2 minutes in, still don't even know what Andrew is talking about.
All right, so taste, touch, conceptual don't exist. Okay, so another word that would actually go against conceptual would be preceptual. So perceptual doesn't have to be touch or taste. It just has to be thought through, and then it just exists. Oh, am I not muted? I can't hear you. Apologies, I just can't hear you. Apologies, everyone. It's going to be technical difficulties. Oh, let me go to the chat. I think it's my browser. I'm going to re-upload. Understood. And I'm using my phone, everyone. So one moment. Agreed. This is my first time, everybody. If you can hear me, first time. I really don't do this, but I'm going to go into that field. Yeah, I read the chat. Oh man, that's actually my first time actually reading chat, actually seeing myself.
Okay, so good. Everybody can hear you, right? I don't know what's happening with my computer. I might have to switch over to what the hell? This is part of a live streaming. Sometimes things go wrong. Thank MW. Welcome to you. Very good to see you. Oh, that's good. That's good. All right, I'm gonna pop out, and I think I should actually first. Let me double check, see if I can use it from here. That was a good sign. It was picking up my audio.
Agreed.
That's the one thing we need. Test, test, test. All right, I'll be right back. Okay, can you hear me?
Yes.
All righty then. All righty then. Okay, so let's close that. Let's bring this back in. And test that. Can we hear
That a right, right, is
Yes.
And in the chat, just let me know if you can hear that the video audio. We are all good, beautiful. All right. So sorry about that, Gabriel. You were talking about our senses, and you're saying touch, smell, all that stuff. Did you remember where you left off, or did you lose it?
Actually, no, I got a notebook right next to me, so I'm writing this down, jotting down notes just because of learning experience, that it's always beneficial. Don't want to lose a train of thought just in case these situations happen. So again, Andrew Wilson want to point out, taste, touch, conceptual don't exist. My point of view would be, at what point will it exist? And to me, it's more of the preceptual, more of the way of thoughts, especially when we think or when we get certain thoughts without even recognizing we're thinking. So we don't need it. It's more so of a different, I don't even want to say dimension, but it's more so within our capabilities. That
Different realms of thought.
Different realms of thought that we don't touch nor taste in the physical sense, but more of a spiritual acknowledgement, that we are acknowledging that we claim we know our experiences to a certain extent, whether it be variety of evidences or the norm or abnormal. It just really depends.
Yeah, and I think you're touching on something that Andrew is going down this road, that rights don't exist because you can't touch them, and then he brings up duties, but you can't touch duties either. So again, it's a frustrating thing, but a challenge that we need to overcome, and that's I love the way that you frame this whole thing. That we're not here to be like, I was right the whole time. I do think I was right on one of them, but we'll get to that later. Well said. Well said. So again, finally, 2 minutes into our 5 minutes, and we finally have some semblance of what we're talking about. I'll back that up a little bit.
society, which is secular, right? It's just really, we're just always talking about force.
So you think that duties are objective in some sense?
Hey, Sarah Kai, I didn't see you there. Welcome, welcome, welcome.
So I guess I am genuinely a little confused by where we're going with this.
Yeah, I'm just saying that a right is an entitlement absent a duty.
Okay.
It just means that we're not telling you have to do something. We're just giving something to you instead.
Okay.
Yeah. So what I'm saying is that because this is the case, right, what really it comes down to in a secular nation is force. What we're arguing about fundamentally is force. So I think secularists, right, when they're talking about rights, they want Christians to enforce their rights. They're actually asking us, requesting that we use force on their behalf.
It's like, okay, cool, like cool thing to say, I guess, yeah. But how is this a debate? That's half the time gone, and we still don't know what we're talking about because it's a bad prompt. I'm gonna hammer that over and over and over again. You have something, Gabriel?
Yes. Also, when he says a right, basically a forced doctrine, my main thing, I should have really combated that on the other side when it was my turn. It was more so that I agreed, but we'll get there. My thing is the opposite of force would have to be persuasion. There has to be a persuasion type of doctrine that is just, not just a right. And it's actually just because it's superior than a right, in my opinion, especially if we're going to write it down and literally look at the nation and the people within that nation and say, this is the way we're going to move forward, and we're going to actually act this out and just see the results and outcome.
Okay, come on.
I mean, it sounded like I was getting abducted by UFOs, but that's just a joke out there. Just putting that out there. No. Okay, better.
Wait, was that? That's coming through, right?
Yes.
All right. I don't know what is going on tonight. Oh my goodness. All right, we should be back in. I'm sorry, you were saying.
I was saying that basically to combat his doctrine that he believes in, that he built his whole fundamental foundation through a doctrinal substance, which is applied on force, which comes from a right, which basically what we inherited from our founding fathers, the rights that they have allowed us to be given, and not free, but to a certain extent of freedom, because obviously there's restrictions to freedom, to free speech, and not in its totality, because they're trying to avoid casualties. This is, from my point of view, to what is ultimately desired for everyone. But then also, again, persuasional doctrine sounds like the best way to go. To me, verbal debates, especially the structure of it, I'm very disappointed with the conservative movement, just because if we're really going to truly solve these problems that comes from failures because of errors, we have to move past these type of debates. It's more like, I'm old school. I desire like intellectual duels, you know, to life to death, to actually figure things out to the fullest of ends, not mediocrely, not, oh, we'll get it tomorrow, we'll get it next week. Like, no, I really want to solve these problems, because we're getting not the results and outcomes, and people are suffering from that. And we're trying to avoid unnecessary suffering, is what I'm trying to say, you know?
Yeah. And I think that, again, is highlighting a part of what Andrew is here, just trying to get clicks and just trying to, have, just win. That, like, okay, I guess at the bare bones of it, that yes, we only force exists, but we live in a modern civilized society where all of the things that we're talking about, again, fundamentally, the laws that we have are enforced at the barrel of a gun. But that's not really why most people do the things that they do. Most people do things because they want to, accomplish a goal, or, just be a good person, or whatever it is. And it's kind of perverting the notion that only force exists, to act like we can't use persuasion. And I don't like that. But again, a good way to throw us off. Good way to throw us off. Quality said, poor definition of a right. Rights and responsibilities naturally go hand in hand. A right absent a responsibility is an entitlement. Agreed. Agreed. All right, let's dive back in here.
Oh, I can't hear him.
Oh, let's try that. Struggle streaming.
Assuming you're proposing this to criticize
10 seconds back.
Women have the right.
So how, I guess, paint this picture for me in a Christian nation. Like, I'm assuming you're proposing this to criticize secular nations.
Do women have the right to an abortion?
Maybe not in the objective sense, but I would say yes.
Yeah. Okay. So in this constructed sense of rights, a woman should be allowed to get an abortion, right?
Yes.
What if Christians try to stop her?
What if Christians try?
Yeah, but they don't think she has that right.
Right.
That entitlement, right? So it just reduces to force. So really what secularists are saying is like, we will use force against you and against your beliefs, right? Or if there's a draft, like let's say they draft Christians, right? Same thing. They want Christians to utilize force on their behalf. Rights themselves just come down to the idea of force.
I guess I'm just trying to figure out, because we are tight on time, like what's
the point
we're getting at is, because I don't see how this would
that you don't have any rights.
And that's
so
fine.
When you say my rights, right, the Christians are trying to attack my rights. That's all fucking fictitious imagination nonsense.
But
okay, so then when we talk about when Christians have rights to do this, that, and the other, that's all nonsense too. Like what
does that stop being fictitious if we operate under a Christian framework? Like I agree with you that rights are arbitrary in some sense.
Completely fictitious and made up.
And if that's the ultimate point, if there's no,
so if it is the case that I'm supposed to enforce your rights because you use force, why can't I enforce Christianity using force?
Well, I don't think you can enforce someone to believe something. That's I don't.
Yeah, but Christian ethics. Why couldn't I use Christian ethics and use force to enforce Christian ethics if you can use force to enforce my rights?
Well, you can.
You can, but that failed. That's how the world. That's how America used to work, and then more secular tendencies came along because of my democracy, my republic, or whatever. You lost. That's why.
And
Right.
but we have to have a conversation about whether
Right,
or not
you
that's the
can't-
right thing to do. It's all arbitrary, though. I think whether it's coming from a Christian side or a
So if
secular
it's
side
all
is-
arbitrary, right, then why can't I get a bunch of men together with machine guns to go and enforce my ethics? If you can get a bunch of men with machine guns to come enforce my rights,
I mean,
Nobody said
again,
you
I
couldn't.
agree with you. We could do that. I think we would agree that's probably not the best way to handle it.
I'm not
though,
sure
so-
that I would agree that it's
Oh,
not the
okay.
best way to handle it. I think
That's a
that
shame with 30 seconds left.
I think that if there's a pushing,
Yeah, right. Because if we had some more time, then it'd be like, okay, why do you think that that's the best way to go about things? To just force people to do what you want at the foot of a gun, even if you can, persuade them, as Gabriel was saying earlier, to agree with you, and then that law still exists at the barrel of a gun, but you don't have to enforce it as by force, even though that underlies what we all want. I mean,
that if there is a pushing for force in order to uphold things that you can, social constructs in your mind
Mhm.
that you think should be upheld via force, then even if Christianity is a lie, why shouldn't we do the same damn thing?
Yeah, I'm not going to be able to answer that with
Okay.
15 seconds, but that's a good one. I appreciate it,
I
man.
appreciate it.
it's not a good one. It's not a good one. What did you think of the discussion overall?
The overall 5-minute conversational discussion. Again, please apologize for James for modern day debate. This is the first literal time they're going through this. This is all experimental, by the way. We're not professionals, especially the roasting of the chat in their main channel. What can I
Yep.
say? I am what I am, but also I recognize the situation. I played it to the favor of everybody involved. Now, the question, the structure of it was not very thought through. I would assume it was very pleasing at first, but when you actually sit down and have that conversation, the opposing side doesn't even have time to actually, if they're certain that type of person, for example, like me, I need the topic and then give me 5 to probably an hour, maybe a day, maybe a week, depending on how far
Yeah.
deep I really want to go into the rabbit hole to actually provide compelling arguments that will not only stand toe against your arguments, which you're an experienced debater, Andrew Wilson.
Mhm.
My main things, we're probably not.
Definitely.
And
I mean, I've had a few debates, so I'm definitely not, on that level. But that doesn't. I think again, the problem with the structure, not necessarily like, okay, we can talk about how 5 minutes wasn't enough. This was the first time modern day debate was doing this, and it makes sense to say, okay, we'll give each person 5 minutes. That makes sense. In practice, clearly, that is not the ideal time. But if like, let's say he brought up more religious focused things, because again, this was pitched to us as Andrew versus 5 atheists. And so I guess the that's an assumption that he's going to bring in atheists to talk about atheism or religion. But if it was something like we should have Bibles in schools or something like that, that's something that we could that's the prompt, and we can just go right from there. We don't have to figure out what we're talking about because you have brought a prompt that we can talk about. And this, again, I'm going to hammer this home. The reason is because Andrew does not understand that atheism and leftism are not the same thing. He's trying to own the leftists, and then he brought in a bunch of atheists with maybe one or two among us. And so, yeah, he wins because the structure is, I'm going to say a basic statement, and if you can't prove me wrong, then I win. So like, the sky is blue. Prove me wrong. Oh, you can't? I win. Like, what? That's not how you have conversations.
well, I want to point out too is the good faith aspect of the debate and the spirits of actually finding solutions, which is the totality of the point, rather than what we got in return. It wasn't what we assumed what would be, because there was a premise that we will actually have a verbal debate, but on the topics that actually are purposely meaningful, that will actually may create a change. But instead, what we got is this type of circus.
Yeah. And I mean, it's a disservice to us as well, because, maybe somebody who is a part of this, no matter how it turned out, they would go on their own channel and be like, no, I was right. This is wrong. Da, 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 da. But I mean, you guys out there can attest that whenever I do something like this, I want to review it because I want to see what I did wrong and I want to see how I can be better. And so if we didn't even really get to have a debate, then what am I judging? I'm just getting mad that it didn't go differently. But I think we can all be glad that, what was this guy's name?
Closer.
Mike O. I am so glad that that Mike O was there because nobody else had a worse showing.
Hey,
How are you?
good.
So, can you elaborate on the rights don't exist? They are enforced.
Yeah, the idea here is that if a
He didn't get the prompt right. He said rights don't exist, they are enforced. But again, the prompt was rights don't exist, there is only force.
The rights don't exist. They are enforced.
Yeah, the idea here is that if a right is an entitlement absent a duty, that force will be employed on behalf of upholding this completely social construct, nonsense doesn't exist thing, right? And you can appeal to this social construct doesn't exist nonsense thing in order to utilize force, then I can do the exact same thing, even if you think Christianity is a lie.
All right, I gotta concede real quick. I'm so sorry. This is way above me. this topic right here. All right, I'm sorry. Thank you.
No problem.
So yeah, he
Oh.
didn't do it well. But I think it's the somebody, again, we're non-professionals and all that stuff, but we did sign up for a debate. And I want to think that Mike O sat down and rights don't exist. I agree with that. So I don't know how to disagree with something I agree with. Whereas as you saw the other Mike, the first guy, he was like, okay, so what's the point? How is that useful in our in terms of a discussion? How does that address anything about society? That if there's no rights, there's only force. Okay, and then? And I think I ain't doing this bullshit.
Yeah.
All right, that's me. That's me. So I want you guys to be as I know some of you have seen this already, and some of you guys have seen my breakdown. So I'm gonna try not to get too triggered. It's gonna happen. I'm gonna get triggered, but I'm gonna try to have you guys be the ones to tell me what went right and wrong. And then if you really want to see me break it down point by point, check out my own personal ones. But Gabriel, I'm counting on you for this one. I want the straight truth, every little thing I could have done better. All that stuff. The only thing I will say is that I wish I would have started all of these with, okay, why would you think that I would disagree with you just because you know that I'm an atheist? I wish that I had said that with everyone. All right. So you think we completely agree about the fact that rights don't exist. And it's only force. But I have a strong feeling that the next step in your conclusion of why you're saying this, we would disagree on. So what is the point of that?
Okay. You agree with me that a right is a social construct
Yes.
that doesn't exist in
No.
objective reality that is completely made
Yes.
up nonsense, right?
Yes.
Can you appeal to it and use force?
And what do you mean? In what
If somebody is obstructing your right to do X thing,
Mhm.
right? Does that give you now something to appeal to in order to have force used to enforce that right?
Yeah.
Okay, so you made some bullshit up and then said, well, if you cross this threshold for this, we're going to use force against you.
Yeah, it's called civilization, man. What are you trying to? Sorry. Okay.
So if it is
That's
the
how
case, that,
civilization works.
yeah.
We
So
make
if
stuff
it
up
is
and
the
then we
case,
follow
hang on,
suit.
hang on. So if it is the case that Christianity is false, who cares? I'm going to appeal to it and use force. What's the problem?
I mean, from the perspective of rights, nothing.
Yeah, from the perspective of anybody, nothing. You're doing the same. So
No, from the perspective of the founding fathers and the current electorate, people don't want that. If they wanted that, we would have that because that's how America works. Yeah, go ahead. You can just jump in.
So my main thing is the word if, like what if? It's like so many different scenarios. What if is like the totality of different, so many avenues. But the reality is this is the actual avenue we're in. And this is what the avenue came from behind us. So how are we going to actually choose limiting the avenues ahead of us to make the right just choice? So I understand that his main focus is this if scenarios, and then basically he has a technique to actually no, just let's just move forward.
Yeah, well, I mean, I definitely agree with you, and the fact that he is here, like, this is a philosophical. Once you're talking about this in this context of rights don't exist and what if I do that, now we're having a philosophical discussion, and again, this is not Andrew's fault. This is just on modern day debate, not knowing any better, that 5 minutes is not enough time. But that's precisely why, if we had these prompts beforehand, then like we wouldn't have had to spend the first 2 of our 5 minutes fumbling through what we're actually going to argue about. I would have been like, okay, well, I agree with you about this, but you know, that's why I asked him, what is the next thing? Because like that doesn't do anything to say rights don't exist, there's only force. And I can say no, okay, even if I did disagree, I say no, rights do exist. And then we're going to have a philosophical discussion about what existence means. Like, what does that do?
Now, I would want to note too, like the actual reality, the gravity of the situation that we're in actually really compels in combating these what if scenarios. Like we need actual evidence and attachment. Therefore, he doesn't stray off to these what if possibilities that will eat up time because we have limited of time. And that's the whole point of why I'm against, again, these timetables debates when really we should be having conversations hours long, days long, weeks long, until we actually have the actual fundamental foundation where we can lay our lives to, and ultimately doctrinal substances that we should be dying for, or we should be, because we know
willing to die for,
because we know we're temporary. Temporary is just a borrowed time. And in this borrowed time, we only get a certain amount of seasons. We only get a certain amount of space, matter, and material that, to me, it seems like the Christians got wrong when they say it's timeless, matterless, spaceless, immaterial. Like my position is that I'm a Christian and I believe in the opposite of those things. I actually believe timeful, spaceful, matterful, material. Why? Because in reality, this is what we are. We know we are matter. We know we need to eat. We know we need to replenish. If not, we actually die. There's consequences, repercussions, ramifications. And ultimately, we know we procreate. Guess what? That's an inheritance. The thing is like, what matter of time are we in 2025 when we were born into? And this is the situational circumstances that we're in. We're going to have to deal with it.
Right.
So I'll say that's enough. Yeah.
Agreed. And I was actually going to say we'll get through that, but I actually think it's a useful discussion to just, obviously not get into the weeds, but just generally, you're not necessarily an atheist in the same way that the typical, you would typically think. You're much more like a Jordan Peterson type of atheist than like a Sam Harris atheist, but we'll get into that. But yeah, agreed. And Nick said, well said, buddy.
Thank you.
Right, nothing.
Yeah, from the perspective of anybody, nothing. You're doing the same. So
from the perspective of truth, that you don't have anything to base what you're saying on.
No, you're at the same problem, right? This thing that you're appealing to isn't.
I'm very open about the fact that I don't know.
The thing you're appealing to isn't.
The
thing that you're appealing to isn't true.
I wish I would have pushed harder on that. I wish I would have pushed harder on that, because that was the point. It's like, I know that I'm appealing to my preferences, as he says, but you are acting like you're not appealing to your preferences because you say that God is objective. And I personally don't believe that. And that the proof of that has not been shown. And so if you want to claim that I have an objective truth and you don't, then you have to demonstrate that objective truth.
Agreed.
Yeah.
Same. I agree.
So if that is the
thing that
case,
you're appealing to
isn't true. Yeah. So
right?
so if that is the case, then
wait, did he just admit? Did he just admit that God doesn't exist? I said the thing that you're appealing to isn't true, and he said, "Yeah." I agree.
So if that is the
thing
case,
that you're appealing to
isn't true. Yeah. So
right?
so if that is the case, then like I said, it really is just reducing to force. The arbitrary thing that we just made up, I get to use force.
So why are we sitting here discussing instead of fighting?
Because right now the ability to use force is on your side.
How so?
Because my rights that you would appeal to are enforced via the law of the land. And so the force doctrine right now, the appeal is on your side. So the system which we have to work within is dialogue based, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. But if it was,
yeah, what a horrible, horrible world that we live in. A dialogue based. No. If only we had Christianity and we were just fighting each other all the time. What are you arguing then?
Which we have to work within is dialogue based, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. But if it was reversed, right, you would be in the same exact, you'd have the same exact problem. We would appeal to this thing you consider to be fictitious. The force is now on our side. We could just, say, well, you can't talk at all because we got all the force.
You could, but I don't see where that gets us. Yeah, you could, if you have the might, then you could do whatever you want.
Because there's no way, in your view for you to say that that's in any way, shape, or form problematic, because it's the same thing you're doing.
Right.
Yeah. So if Christians take over, right? Take over the entire country, utilize force doctrine, and then say you can never
You mean
talk
like the
again.
Islamists will.
Yeah, and say you can never
And
talk
for you
again.
as part of the
If they
secular world.
did, I'm saying if they did, right, and say you can never speak again on this topic, you can't actually tell me why that's in any way wrong, because it's the
Not-
same thing you do.
Right. And exactly. That's the world we used to live in, where blasphemy laws were in effect. And then people voted, Christians voted for that not to be the case. So, like, yeah, if it was different, then it would be different. Mr. Sam Harris. That's the Sam Harris defense. When I don't remember where it was, but he was talking about something during COVID. And he was making an argument about vaccines. He was like, well, you know, long story short, if things were different, then I would be totally right. It's like, what?
Interesting. I just want to make a quick note. So it was, he likes the phrase, if the case, with the whole scenario about God, if the case. Well, the problem is just not if the case, is what is. Is there a God? Is a yes, definitively, for certainty. This is not like a optimistic viewpoint where it's half glass full of water. Like, where's the other half? Where's the evidence towards the other half?
Yeah.
Because that's how you get persuaded to the fullness. Well, that's my point of view, because I want certainties. I want guarantees. But then also we have to understand that it comes at different points of views, different dimensions, or different levels of knowledge that reflects wisdoms. Because it's one thing to
Different
know
context.
different context. You know, what is it to know? To know is supposed to be knowledge, to know you're on the ledge and you understand and you see the ledge, and therefore you begin your walk. Now, if you don't see the ledge, you don't know everything, or you don't even know the ledge in its simplest form that is even there to begin with. So you don't understand the complexities of the ledge of being constructed, or even
Now distill that down to 5 minutes, based on starting from the prompt that Andrew gave you.
Yeah, that's
Not gonna go well. Not gonna go well. Shout out to our boy Zippy DSM Lee. Welcome. We are going through all of the modern day debate. Andrew Wilson versus 5. We are 2 of the 5 right now. I'm up, so I want your criticisms. I want your feedback. What could I have done better? What could I have done better? We got Zippy said, if there is a God, then God is something far beyond man. You can't bottle and limit God. Leave man be and let them find God themselves. Well said, sir. I like that. I like it. All right, diving back in.
If they did, I'm saying if they did, right, and say you can never speak again on this topic, you can't actually tell me why that's in any way wrong, because it's the same thing you do.
Right, but we have these social constructs, and then we adhere to them. So we can have the conversation that it would be wrong for us to punch each other here, because we are here for a debate where we have established that we want to talk about things.
Yeah, so
exactly. So what?
So I'm saying if you're appealing to,
if you decided that you actually didn't want to do that and you did want to punch me, there's nothing I could do to stop you. So
no, there is. You can use force.
I mean, I'm a little dude. So.
But the point is like you can use force, whether you're a little dude or a big dude, or.
But I'm saying outside of that, I agree with you. So
there is no outside of that.
I'm not right. I agree with you. That's why I'm not understanding why this is a.
Because what I'm saying is that for when atheists say Christians shouldn't be in power because of my rights, what they're really saying is Christians shouldn't be in power because we will use force for this arbitrary made up bullshit that we like, and we don't want them to do anything about it. So
yeah, nobody's disagreeing with that. You're just saying basic truths, bro. And thinking like you're winning a debate like that. This is such lowbrow stuff. And I know that he's smarter than this. And yet again, it's because of the prompts. It's because of the prompts. The conversation could not get off the ground because these are bad prompts.
If that is the case, then in the reverse, we can appeal to the same thing.
Right. And so that's exactly the same thing that you're appealing to with the rest of the Western secular world when it comes to Sharia law. That, well, we have these things that we believe and we like, and we don't want you to come and use force.
Yeah, but you can't tell them why that's bad because you're doing the same thing.
Again, I agree with you.
In fact, what I'm saying is that you're practicing your own form of Sharia law. It's your own form of Sharia law. I made up a bunch of values. Yeah. I appeal to them, and I'll use force to uphold them.
Why is that a bad thing? You get Sharia, and you get Sharia, and you get Sharia. It's all the same thing. You made a bunch of stuff up, and you want to use force to adhere to it. That's it. Yes, that is how society works.
Uphold them. I'm not the one who makes a claim Sharia law is bad. That would be atheist, right?
And right there, I wish I would have been like, oh, so you're in favor of Sharia law. That would have been brilliant.
I'm not the one who makes the claim Sharia law is bad. That would be atheist, right?
I mean, yeah, but that's specific, not because of the fact that it's force and rights are conceptual, because of what the actual tenets of it are.
What do you mean?
You disagree with
Don't
Sharia
you think
law,
all the
correct?
tenets are made up?
Yes.
Then then it's the same thing.
Okay, but if I made up that Spider-Man has the best suit is yellow,
Yeah.
I still made that. You could agree or disagree with that.
So what?
So they made up a thing, you made up a thing, I made up a thing, and we could all.
So it all reduces to force.
Yeah.
So you have no leg to stand on to tell people who have Sharia law that it's bad.
I think we agreed too much on this, man. I don't know why we're fighting. All right, let me have it. Let me have it.
All right, so are you talking to me in the chat, right?
Yeah. You
just
guys,
make
let
it
me
good.
have it.
All right, so to me, it's like you agreed too much. You agreed to too much. My thing is, it's supposed to take it's like a good. It just again the timetable is just really. I get it because it's so limited time that you have to make quick answers. Therefore, you move to the next chapter or the next sentence.
Mhm.
But the thing is, certain questions, certain answers literally demands certain questions to be tested, certain truths to be tested. Therefore, we can verify and then confirm. There's supposed to be a level of studies that needs to be done to even get to the certain extents that we desire. The whole premise of our conversations or the debating, the 5 minutes. What is the tenets made up thing is another problem that I really have a struggle with, is that someone actually made these tenets. Why did they made it up? It could be righteously justified, or it could be unrighteously unjustified. There's no reason, or maybe there is a reason. It's just we don't see it because we haven't gone deep enough to even figure it out. I mean, to me, there's 4 levels of knowledge that is basically surface level. Then there's deep. Then there's deeper, and then there's deepest. There you go, everybody. You actually have an idea that is real because we have an example of the ocean. Look how deep it is. There's deeper, but we know there's a bottom to it.
Mm-hmm.
But then we have to ask ourselves, okay, how wide it is, the span of it. That's another dimension. But then when we look at the opposite end, when we look up and we see the sky, wow, I see planes, I see birds. You know, we have to. There's a surface level to that where we're land creatures, and then there's a higher, and then the highest position. Ultimately, we need to figure out what is the best case scenario for us as a human race. Because right now, we keep saying the greater good. We keep saying what is better for humanity. Like, no, I don't want none of these options because there's only one actual option that is truly real, that it has to be from an ideological mind that is rational, that is the best. Because either we're going to get the best or we're going to get the worst. With a T, not with an E. Yep. The enemies, if they even do exist, and at different levels. The thing is the tactical warfare, strategically speaking, is words to persuade, and in the manner that people are being puppeteered to being puppets. My thing is too is there's one thing, there's knowledge, but there's another layer to wisdom. Because ultimately, we all want to be beneficial for our neighbors. But what is a neighbor? We got to figure that out. We need to go back to the basics, the roots, and test everything, especially Christianity right now. We have too many divisions, which is a fact, by the way. Denominationalism for the past 2,000 years, we need to test that. For me, I'm American. Why should I trust?
Hell yeah.
I'm just saying, why should I trust Christians, even if their own scriptures saying, hey, you Christians, even the very elect can be deceived. That means all y'all could be a problem for the past 2,000 years. I wasn't there for the first 100 years. So now this is 2,000 years. What happened when we got 2,000 years worth of problems? Yep. And, you know.
So I think that's kind of a good segue into, I'm waiting to get roasted by the chat. So let it fly. But why don't we dive a little bit into what you personally believe? Because obviously it was Andrew versus 5 atheists. But a lot of the time we spent talking at that table. You had a lot to say about the Bible. You had your Bible with you. So what is your relationship with Christianity?
My relationship with Christianity is that, to me, the Bible was formulated at a certain period of time, collectively, by a certain group of people, collectively, in agreement, that this is what we should push towards humanity. that it should be compelling enough to persuade people to become Christians and what is required to become a Christian. So to me, I trust more scripture in the individual sense. Therefore, we can literally study it by testing it, by verifying it, and then ultimately confirm it. My thing is, if a institution is corrupt because they were defeated and then enslaved, but in a different sense, it's one thing to be physically defeated. It's another thing to be mentally, spiritually defeated, internally speaking, because there's supposed to be a unity between the two. To me, true Judaism, which is the Old Testament, going back to creation with Genesis, and then pure Christianity from the past 2,000 years. Well, the thing is, purity has to be pure without a stain. There is no error because it has the correct line of path. There is a way.
So you're saying that's how you feel about the Bible?
That's how I feel about in the totality of Christianity as of right now. We are so divisive and so divided for the past 1,800, 900 years. I don't trust any religious Christianity at the moment. In reality,
Me too.
I trust more in the internal sense that there is perfection because it's holy, because these words exist and they have a base in meaning and purpose that it could be traced back to. It's just, I can't trust my neighbor because I can't even trust myself, but I can trust another who is perfect. And therefore there's a pathway through that is not of my own totality. Because ultimately, if Christianity is true, what seems to be what is based off of someone else's righteousness who does the will of his Father. And this is ultimately simplified in a manner of a way that there's people above us. So that, again, it goes back to creation, procreation. Here we are because of our timetable. We weren't there originally. Now we're here after. But so Jordan B. Peterson, I went to his few of his events.
JBP?
JBP. Now, my main thing is this. His big thing about storytelling, the way he's able to persuade with evidence due to knowledgeable wisdom that is within these certain texts, and then how that affects us as an individual, but as a group of individuals. So basically you have a beginning, middle, and end, but there has to be a before a beginning, and there has to be an after an end.
It has to be before a beginning. What does that mean?
What it means to me, according to the evidence, by the way, I'm very evidential based. That's why it's very difficult when I'm having these type of structuralized debates. I behave in other manners that I'm trying to survive. But if you give me time, then I can really think this through. Before a beginning, we have to know that we were created, or we have parents, because we're procreation now. But we know if we trace back, there has to be an original form of creation. And because of that original form of creation, there has to be a before, meaning where were the creators located? What were they? Because if they're really immortal, they're really of a different base, especially if they want like a miniature version of themselves, reflecting what they deem is good in the most simplest format of existence that is pleasing to them.
Fair enough. So Zippy says here, the problem with fundamentalists like Wilson, he does not want to leave people alone. And I think that is astute, because if it was the case that it was just a matter of, hey, we should be doing these things, then it would be a much different message. And that's why I think people like myself, who doesn't believe in God, and Gabriel, who is has a lot of relation to the Bible and to Scripture, but doesn't buy into what Andrew like. We can all be on the same team. We all bring it way back. We all hate the woke left and all that stuff. But it's and these not to say that because we have a common enemy that we shouldn't discuss things, but it's a matter of maybe misrepresenting is a strong word, but acting like, well, we just want to, this is just what people want, and we just happen to be forcing you to do it. It's like, it can't be both. Said religion is based on traditions, many of which are practical living for the era the rule or tradition was made in. It helps put religion and tradition in the context of history. So Zippy said, I think your debate style is overly offensive and not focused on countering an argument. You can do better trying to ground things to a middle ground. I feel like that's what I was trying to do. But yeah, I think that is a fair assessment in general. But when it comes to Andrew Wilson, and you only got 5 minutes, you got to be on the offense. Zibby says, using the scientific to vet religion, a way to contemplate and cogitate? I don't know what that word is. Cogitate. What does that mean? Cogitate.
Complicating it? Oh, you got
to think deeply about something or meditate or reflect. There you go. There you go. Then Zippy also says conversion or conversation and debate takes a while to get the words right. And time we did not have. All right, I will take your feedback and try to. I think and again, I do stand on that. When you only got 5 minutes with Andrew Wilson, you got to be on the fence. But you're right in the sense that if even my own criticism of myself, I wish I would have asked, why is it that you think that I would disagree with you just based on the fact that I'm an atheist? That would have been a better conversation on each and every one of these.
So my thing is, what if you did the opposite? Instead of being strictly offensive, be strictly defensive. Actually, now that's an interesting, good point, because then you'll slow everything down because how defensive you are to even allow any of his points to even go past through. But then again,
well, so you say the word defensive, but when it comes to debate and discussion, defensive is usually has the connotation of you are trying to defend something too heartily. Like if we're roommates and I come home and I forgot where I put my Gatorade and I look in the fridge, I'm like, yo, did you move my Gatorade? You're like, I didn't move it. I didn't move anything. That's kind of the and I don't think that's what you mean, right? To be getting defensive. So when you say defensive, give me an example of what that would look like. We have the prompt, rights don't exist. There's only force. And he puts forward that if I have all my Christians and we have guns, we can force you to do whatever you want to do. So what would be a defensive move that's not being like, whoa?
Well, I'll probably defensive move that I would highlight would be the type of dialogue that is based upon that it can't be of ourselves for us to choose force when we're supposed to be obeying and submitting ourselves to a higher power who is serving the highest power. Ultimately, there's a will who is supreme that we're supposed to follow through. And that will, we're supposed to use persuasion rather than force by any means necessary, even in dire situations. And even when you are in dire situations, we look at the Old Testament where people put their faith in God, and God actually, what people would say is, oh, he forced against his enemies. Well, actually, no, he actually persuaded them with the truth that you shouldn't even be doing this to begin with, and you lose against me, and that's why glory reflects back to God. But also the initiation is that the people who have their faith towards God, their prayer was actually rewarded by actually what occurred. That's my segment.
All right, so if you see either anyone in the debates using that method of going on defense rather than offense, that definitely point that out to me, because I kind of get what you mean, but not fully.
So I know I'm pretty sure we both played video games where we're growing up, especially in the 90s and early 2000s. We have statistics. In these statistics, there's categories, and those categories are impacted by the actual actions that is being occurred, where the conflict that is based upon these traits. Now, for someone who's heavily offensive, I'm more focused on what is the topic, because the whole point is to claim victory. But that's what I believe Andrew Wilson's mentality is that he's so focused on victory by destroying that he's leaving nothing to be salvaged. or the whole point of
Yeah, it's not about finding common ground and making things better. It's about Andrew Wilson, am right.
his ground. His ground is what he's going to lay at the cost of what exactly? How many lives? How many ideas? What happened when you accidentally destroy something you should have never destroyed to begin with? Then what? There's no going back. Or maybe there is. It really depends on situational circumstances.
At least you got to rebuild. All right, so let's dive into this guy. So this was the most left-leaning guy. And again, you'll see that even though he's, more or less a lib, it's not like he's a leftist. He doesn't have blue hair and all that stuff. Yet again, I will keep hammering home, Andrew Wilson does not understand the difference between atheism and leftism. Even though there is a huge correlation that a lot of leftists are atheists, they are different philosophical positions. One has a bunch of tenets about what we should do in politics, and one is just, I do not have a God belief. That's it.
I can't hear him.
Oh, what happened? God, oh, I muted it. That's why. It's like, what happened now?
See you again.
You too. It's been a long time.
Yeah. 20 minutes.
Yeah.
So
I missed you.
Yeah.
I will say before I meant to say earlier that shout out to Mike, the first guy, because it was always the same order. And yes, we got the prompts at the beginning. So like we were trying to listen in when Mike was getting the prompt because they would record the thing where, hi, I'm Andrew Wilson. Blah, blah, blah. He would record that, but he didn't tell us. There was no okay, guys, the next prompt is gonna. There was none of that. And so we tried to listen in, but Mike had to go right like that. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, so my main thing is because I was fortunate enough to be the last one, but my thing is that I recognize that because I recognize that, and it's not fair for everyone else. I kind of zone out until I get up there each and every time and literally have him ask me because it was just whether it be the most fairest thing to do because of this is what the first person experienced. Right. Therefore, I'm gonna go as an experience. So I'm all in or not. So.
All right, let's see.
Likewise. We might agree too much on this topic, but I think that's okay. We don't have to disagree on everything, right? So I think, correct me if I'm wrong, your position is people are not entitled to other people's services. Would you agree?
No, that's not what I'm saying.
Okay, so elaborate on that.
So I'm saying that
that wasn't even the question. He didn't say, is that what your prompt is? He offered he said, I agree with the prompt. Is this a thing that you agree with? No, that's not the prompt. That wasn't the question, Andrew.
If I'm wrong, your position is people are not entitled to other people's services. Would you agree?
So, I mean, he did say your position is, and that's not, I would say instead you would, just would you agree, not your position, because your position does kind of invoke the prompt itself, but, nitpicking.
Your position is people are not entitled to other people's services. Would you agree?
No. That's not what I'm saying.
Okay, so elaborate on that.
So I'm saying that anything.
So yet again, we are now almost 30 seconds in, and we don't know what the fuck we're talking about. Good job, Andrew.
From the atheist worldview, anything.
And yet again, what is the atheist worldview? I have not heard of this as an atheist for the last 20 years.
So I'm saying that anything from the atheist worldview, anything, right, that's outside of complete natural mechanisms is arbitrary and made up and non-objective.
Yeah, because it doesn't exist. There are no things like that. That's not a thing that exists.
Including their belief that Christianity is completely made up.
Yeah, that's not what atheism is. So maybe it's not that Andrew doesn't understand that leftism and atheism are not the same thing. Maybe it's just he really doesn't understand what atheism means.
Well, my thing is that he have experience in debating, supposedly. I haven't seen the majority, so it could be in those line of who he have debated and the type of categories they're in, and then seeing the parallels between the two, and then just conformed his points to both points at once. Especially, again, when you're debating, you only have a limited time, so you're trying to fit everything through, but in a way that it's not even for his opponent, but for the audience.
Yeah, and I completely agree, but it's a mischaracterization. It makes sense if you have a group of people that actually do believe in a thing, then even if that one person doesn't buy into that tenet, then like the notion that you can ascribe you have a relationship with Jesus Christ to all Christians, that's fair because that's part of what Christian means. When you're talking about believing Christianity is made up, that's not something that is I mean, first of all, Christianity was made up. Nobody disputes that. It was stories that, like, what even does that mean? But to say that to say that it's completely fake, that's not a position of inherent to atheism. Yes, a lot of atheists think that Christianity is completely made up, or meaning that it's completely untrue. But that's not part of atheism. That's just another thing that they do. They also wear shoes and brush their teeth. That has nothing to do with atheism.
Now,
yep.
Would that be also targeted to religion itself with all different religions, the same categorization?
What do you mean?
For what you said about Christianity? Well, yes. Christianity to the Muslims with their belief, to the Jews to their belief, to the Buddha. I'm assuming it'll go through all of them. The same.
Yeah, I mean it's just it's just pure skepticism. It's I am not going to accept any claims that you're making until you can provide proof of those claims. And it's a central tenet of Christianity, along with these other a lot of the other religions, at least the Abrahamic religions, that you have faith. And I am of the position that faith is not necessarily a good thing, especially when it comes to your entire worldview. You shouldn't just have faith that something exists. If you're going to base all of your actions and behaviors on it, it should be something that you know exists. And so, as we'll get to later, Andrew likes to say, my preferences. Well, guess what, Andrew? Preferences exist. Does God? Maybe. But preferences definitely exist. And so, I'd rather appeal to something that I know exists than I don't know exists. If you guys, the general you guys can prove that God exists, well, then the conversation really changes. I'm not in a position I am not one of the atheists who does have the affirmative belief that God does not exist or that Christianity is bad or any of these things. So yet again, he's ascribing these beliefs to me. And I think it's understandable that he thinks this about atheists because all of the atheists that he's debated, like you're talking about, have been like that. But it's a complete category error. It's a complete category error, and it was a disservice to everybody who watched this. It was a disservice to all of us, and the only person who benefited from this was Andrew Wilson. And I mean, I guess modern day debate is getting some ad money, but this could have been something where there was interesting conversation. This is something where we could have challenged each other, where we could have had a better understanding of what we're actually talking about, which is something that we actually care about, instead of just, being a debate, bro. But why would we expect anything different?
Natural mechanisms is arbitrary and made up and non-objective, including their belief that Christianity is completely made up or Islam is completely made up. They think all these things are completely made up. The problem is that the things that they appeal to, human rights, human dignity, right? That's all completely made up too from their view. So if it's the case that they'll defend those things with force, what leg do they have to stand on to say that Muslims or Christians can't defend their values also with force?
Literally, my preferences. We vote. That's what we have to stand on. Our preferences. What do you have to stand on? Nothing.
And their values with force.
Yeah.
So you think that it's okay to bomb a church because that's their values? Is that they think?
No, what I'm saying is that if it is the case that the only thing you're appealing to is something which is made up and saying we made it up, but we really like it, so we use force to defend it, then you can't really go out to after a religion that you think is made up who appeals to this made up thing and uses force, because it's the same thing you're doing.
No, but that is the
But even if that was the case, this brings us back to the Sharia law thing. So you're saying, well, you have no leg to stand on because you're just making something up. But you believe that that Muslims have a leg to stand on, even though they're making stuff up. You don't believe that that's true. But just because they have that structure, you accept it as, well, it's just a different religion. But again, I have a moral structure that is built brick by brick based on my own reading, my own experiences, and so on and so forth. And I mean, I'll let you guys judge, but I think I'm a decent person. And so this notion that it's impossible that people can be good without divine command is not true. It's the problem is again, that I'll bring up later, the false dichotomy that when you make it must be Christian, you must obey God, then people who don't believe then push away everything in Christianity. And there's a lot of good in Christianity. So you don't want them to do that. Let's dive back in.
And he uses force because it's the same thing you're doing.
No, but that is the doctrine of Islam and Christianity, and previously is to enforce your religious beliefs by force.
That's the doctrine of the atheist now.
Atheism doesn't
There is no. Thank you.
for religious beliefs by force.
That's the doctrine of the atheist now.
Atheism doesn't have a doctrine. Atheism is beliefless, right? So
So then what do you appeal to?
I just reject your Santa Claus.
So then what do you appeal to for the use of force?
Moral philosophy, the Constitution, plenty of things. Shout out to Bucks. Welcome to the party. Said, who that there picking that bench? What the fuck are you talking about? Welcome. Gabriel, anything before we dive back in?
No. We're good.
Santa Claus.
So then what do you appeal to for the use of force?
Well, at the end of every rule and law is a gun, right?
Yeah, so what do you appeal to? You appeal
I don't appeal
to
anything.
do you
Appeal
appeal
to
you don't
logic and
appeal to
reason.
rights?
Logic and reason.
Logic and reason.
Yeah.
Are those objectively true?
What is we can get into an hour-long discussion about objective truth. But I don't appeal to a book that's 1,500 years old. I appeal to logic and reason.
You appeal to a document that's 200 years old.
No, I don't. What
The
document?
Constitution.
I don't.
Damn. I got him there. I mean, obviously, we have better reasons to think that a 200-year-old document is more relevant to our daily life than the entirety of the Bible, because that document 200 years old is specifically meant to be a timeless document for our country, whether you're a Christian or not. But that was a good line, Andrew. That was a good line.
I don't appeal to a book that's 1,500 years old. I appeal to logic and reason.
You appeal to a document that's 200 years old.
No, I don't. What
The
document?
Constitution.
So what he should have done, and I apologize, Chris, I think what he should have done there is saying, yes, I do appeal to a document that's 200 years old. Why is that? I have reasons for that, because people voted on that. We've seen what plays out when we don't have that. We have amendments because of the fact that we saw that the 200-year-old document was good, but not perfect, so we added to it. And so it's a reasonable thing to appeal to the Constitution as how you run your life versus the Bible. But because Andrew says it well, then he retreats. And that's kind of what I mean about the, Gabriel, when you bring up being on the defensive. I don't know how that plays into this, because that would have been a great opportunity to go on the offensive and actually get a message out on the table.
So my main thing is situational circumstances should dictate the correct choice depending the path of the dialogue that is being had. So what I mean by that is someone coming to you very offensively, either do you stand your ground or do you act as an opposing force also very aggressively? If you can withstand that offensive attack, then you should win, because that offensive attack ultimately should stop, because you did your job as someone who's defensive. You withstood that attack. Now, if an offensive attack you basically try to negate or overforce that force that tried to basically dominate you, but you actually dominated it because you took an action that is more than just withstanding. It's kind of like when people expect you to give an answer because they ask a question. You can answer with silence, or you can answer with the limited amount of words that make a point, unless you're inexperienced and then you try to answer a question that is so complicated that ultimately the other side would win and say you're just rambling, or
So are you familiar with we've been talking about Jordan Peterson a lot. He had an interview on BBC with Kathy Newman that went pretty viral, because it was the one where he would say whatever and she kept going, so what you're saying is, and then straw manning him and he's like, no, that's not what I said at all. Is that kind of what you're talking about, where it's where when Kathy Newman in that interview says, so what you're saying is XYZ, after he just clearly said ABC, that Jordan Peterson could have been like, what are you talking about? Do you not understand me that I just said? Or he could have been like, no, that's not what is that kind of what you mean?
Correct. People have different ways of expressing what actions through their words to defend themselves would be. I mean, my main thing is one, to withstand the attack, but then be on the offense to correctly reprove by stating what they just said, but then providing information that would actually poke holes in what their offensive would be, that they're not even righteously justified to even go down this path. But because they have their intent to basically diss and miss are just two different types of mental constructs in my mind. Is that miss is that you see a target, but you're not aiming at the center of it. So you missed the actual point of aiming for 100%. Let's just say the bullseye is 100%, but you miss it and you hit somewhere in the 85 or 50 or somewhere in that target. But a diss aspect is a whole different target where you're just missing the whole point.
Gotcha.
You know, you hit a different target with it doesn't even matter because that's not even what is brought on the table with the topics, or you just veered off a completely different realm. So
fair enough. Like I said, sometimes you can own it. Sometimes it's better to just concede and move on. It really depends on what you are trying to do. And agreed. I don't know if you were here. You saw the second guy sat down. He's like, so rights don't exist. There's only force. I don't know. I gotta concede. And fair enough. Fair enough. I mean, he actually left after the I think, did he do the next one? I'll see if he did the next one. But you know, he actually left after that. And you know, respect to be like, I'm not gonna put myself on the internet and look like a retard because I am not as good of a debater as Andrew Wilson. Like, and fair enough.
My thing is too, I use this whole debate situation to my advantage, that I'm inexperienced and I want to go through the experience. But then also it's yeah, no matter the experience, something very little can actually be a building block to move forward, not to do for the next time. And that's very honorable on his end, that what I seen is he was very straightforward. Even after our conversations, if you do remember, he preferred Rachel Wilson and her arguments towards feminism. He preferred that line of conversation. He would have waited and not left. He would actually stay and actually gone through. But we weren't told or forewarned. We didn't even know we'll be debating Rachel Wilson at all. It was a surprise.
I put that one. I put that one next. But yeah, that was. We were just getting whatever was thrown at us, and you know, I mean, you can call it cope, but we're just telling it like it is, man.
These are just facts.
Yep, just facts.
But I don't appeal to a book that's 1,500 years old. I appeal to logic and reason.
You appeal to a document that's 200 years old.
No, I don't. What document?
The Constitution.
I don't appeal to the Constitution.
So then you don't think you have a right to speech?
Do we have a right to speech? That's a good question. Sure. In this country we do, of course, because it's written into law. But
so that's where you should have been like, okay, well, do I have a right to speak? Yes, in the sense that I am able to do so. But as you are saying, there is no tangible thing that gives me that right.
I would say existence is proof in reality. We are literally given a mouth. We literally have tongue. We literally communicate each other with languages, whether it be obviously different or not. It's just, this is a right that is beyond realm. Let's just be, you know.
Yeah, I don't know.
In this country we do, of course, because it's written into law. But
that law is fictitious, right? The actual right is fictitious.
I agree.
But you will use force, right, to protect that right.
That right is enforced by
force, but it's made up.
At the end of the day, a gun.
Yeah, but it's made up, right?
Yes.
So then, if these guys really, let's just say my religion's false.
Yeah.
What leg does anybody have to stand on to say that we can't uphold it with force?
And again, nobody is saying that yet. Third person agreeing, or the fourth person agreeing with you. We agree with you. You're trying to argue something we already agree with. Makes it sounds like they were intentionally trying to keep it as vague as possible so that you had the least chance of countering his argument. I don't want to believe that, but seeing the way that they cut it up, seeing the thumbnail that they used for the one where they put me on, where I'm just like no shade, but it's like, oh, clearly we were fodder to get Andrew Wilson clicks.
Favoritism.
Yep.
Possibly.
Hey, fair enough. Fair enough.
Possibly.
Hate the player. Don't hate the player. Hate the game.
Yeah.
What leg does anybody have to stand on to say that we can't uphold it with force?
I think because religion wasn't voted into law by the population.
So
So your doctrine, your religious doctrine.
There you go.
no one
He's
voted
almost
on that.
there.
So why should the population be held accountable?
voting
As a democracy.
is just a construct too.
No.
Yes, but it's a construct that we have decided that we are going to buy into. So you can make the argument that voting shouldn't be a thing, but that's a different conversation. That's not the prompt that you gave, Andrew.
Democracy, right? So no one voted on the Christian doctrine or the Islamic
Democracy is a made up nonsensical construct as well.
doctrine? Not nonsensical.
It's made up, right?
If you want to go down that route, everything is made up.
Right. So if
There you
everything
go.
is made up
There you
and
go.
everything is fake and everything is false
so-
and everything's a social construct, including my religion,
Yeah.
but you can use force to uphold your social
There's no
constructs.
social contract. Atheism
What the hell is a social contract?
No. Atheism is the absence of belief. So
Oh, great. So things we don't believe in, we use force to uphold.
No, Andrew. There's just other things that we do believe in that isn't tied to the atheism. I need to retitle this stream. Andrew Wilson doesn't know what atheism is. He doesn't know what atheism is. Buck said it's all a construct. LOL. Money is a construct. Give me. Give me the money. Exactly. And shout out to dude for going down that road of like, okay, yeah, if you're gonna say that, nothing exists. And then what? What is your point? What are you saying about society or about religion or about atheism? You're not saying anything. You're not bringing anything to the table. And you're expecting us to do it when you've been thinking about this all goddamn day. You just sprung this on us.
belief. So
Great. So things we don't believe in, we use force to uphold.
No. Like what?
Whatever it is.
See, that's where it would have been like, no, there's other things that we do believe in. It's just God is not one of them.
Believe in, we use force to uphold.
No. Like what?
Whatever it is you use force to uphold, if it's an
Give me-
absence of
give me an
belief.
example.
Like, again, the First Amendment,
Go ahead.
right? Perhaps the Third Amendment.
So then again, I'd be like, oh, so you're against the First Amendment. And he would say no. I'd be like, oh, so you're for the First Amendment because God said, or because you like the idea of free speech? You know, my preferences. I don't remember anything in the Bible about free speech. I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, but I don't remember anything in the Bible about free speech. So if that's where we're going.
My thing is, it seems like the Bible is trying to teach us precision in speech.
Mm-hmm.
It's like we're so caught up with this whole freedom of speech, we're forgetting the precision in speech that actually makes the point across, to whether it be an agree or disagreement or a misagreement. Like, people don't understand fully because it's not really thought through. That could be a hindrance too. I mean, let's be honest. Was the founding fathers, when they were making the Declaration of Independence, were they the only ones to actually test it, to verify, to confirm it? Did they actually go out and actually talk to other people, their neighbors, and say, look, is this a good idea? Is this a good idea? How about this is a good idea? And until the point that, okay, I made a mistake here. I made a mistake here because I pretty bias and favoritism to my own favors rather than my neighbors included. So it's like, America to me needs to be studied in a way that we need to see results and outcomes that is actually best for all. Anything less than that is just for the greater good. No. I want the greatest good. Okay. I want the pinnacle.
I'll take that. And that goes right in line with, my general ideology about why I am okay fighting against Christianity, even though I am very in favor of a lot of the values, because exactly what you just said. Maybe, I'm taking to your words. Maybe Christianity is the greater good, but what is the greatest good? Why are we not looking for something better? How are you so sure that there is nothing better than Christianity? Even within the Bible itself, somebody had to come and be like, oh, wait, we got some of this stuff. We're going to change some of this stuff. So why do we not think, especially if a part of the Christian faith is that Jesus is going to come back, why would Jesus not come back and do the exact same thing that he did when he was here the first time and be like, well, we got some of this shit wrong and we got to fix it? Make it make sense. I don't get it.
I'll add on by saying, to me, there seems to be a difference between pure Christianity and impure Christianity. It seems like there's only one way, and it has to be pure Christianity, while every other way is impure. Basically, the whole goal is
Meaning like in politics, it has to be all about Christianity or politics is wrong. Is that what you're saying that he's saying?
that's to a certain degree. Even politics right now, we have politicians, correct? But according to certain scriptures, it focused more on principles. Seems to be, to me, is that instead of politics and politicians, we should be based upon actual principles and have people apply those principles. And especially when you have lobbyists persuading the materials of this world to say, join my side, and this is your benefits. Sure, why not? I don't have basically principles that let me withstand that. It does the opposite, you know.
Nick says, here's your answer, Andrew. It would be wrong for me to use force to stop you from practicing your beliefs. So it would likewise be wrong for you to use force to make me practice yours. And I agree. But unfortunately, you would take the moral high ground and say that, his beliefs are based in objective truth and our beliefs are just made up. But the fact is, all our beliefs are made up. You just believe that they're objective. You have not proven that. Ever. Box said there's like 1,000. There's plenty more than 1,000 versions of Christianity. There's as many versions of Christianity as there are Christians. As I say, many times. Go the next time you go to church, because you Christians are such good Christians that you go to church every Sunday. Go, before you walk into your church, think to yourself, what is God? What is the definition of God? And have that in your mind. Then, when you sit down in the pew, turn to the person to your right and say, what is God? You're going to get a different answer. But not only that, turn to the person to your left, ask the same question, what is God? And you will yet get a third answer. There are as many versions of Christianity as there are Christians.
So my question would be, if there's so many versions, are any one of them actually legit?
I don't think so. I'm willing to be proven wrong. I'm willing to, or not even proven wrong. I'm not saying no. So I don't have to be proven wrong. I don't think so, but I don't know. And I'm okay. That is a huge aspect of atheism, is just being okay with the fact that you don't know. I don't know. I don't believe, and I don't know. That's the agnostic part. I'm an agnostic atheist. I don't fucking know. And so if there is evidence that comes out that a God exists, well, great. Then we know that God exists. But whether we know God exists or we don't know God exists or we are not sure God exists or we're either way, the values that Jesus Christ espoused are good things for society. Now, again, that brings me back to the question. Maybe he's going to come back and say, well, I got this, that, and that wrong. But for right now, I do believe that the Christian values are are up there as far as a packaged moral hierarchy. But again, when Andrew says the atheist has nothing to stand on, it's like, no, it's just we don't stand on God. There's moral philosophers going all the way back to Plato and Aristotle. It's not like the Bible is not the only book of wisdom that exists. And it's frustrating that people act that way. And like when people will say things like, my dad is one of these people. Shout out to Papa Lutch, but he's one of these people like, oh yeah, I was an atheist for a while, and then I grew up and I came back to Christianity. It's like, okay, hold on. When you say you were an atheist, do you mean that you were trying to find your spiritual fulfillment in a different realm than Christianity, or do you mean you were in your 20s and you didn't give a shit about that? You were just partying and fucking girls, and then you went back. You got to a point where you wanted spirituality again, and you just went back to what you knew. We are not the same. My Christianity my Christianity too. My atheism has been a spiritually fulfilling thing because I've chosen to do that. Many atheists have not, but that is the point. None of what he is talking about has to do with atheism. This would be absolutely identically the same if it was Andrew Wilson versus 5 people with short hair, Andrew Wilson versus 5 people who are white but have a slight tan. There's nothing about atheism that is tied to what he's talking about any more than anything else. Look, said, fine. I won't put out my slave's eye or his tooth. Wow, you're a good Christian. You're a good Christian. All right, now I'm back in.
Whatever it is you use force to uphold, if it's an
Give me-
absence of
give me an
belief.
example.
Like, again, the First Amendment,
Go ahead.
right? Perhaps the Third Amendment, perhaps the Fourth, perhaps the Fifth.
Well, elaborate.
Would you use force?
Good job. That's where, and maybe this is what you're talking about being more defensive as opposed to offensive. Let him try to go down the road of telling us what we believe, and then when he's wrong, then you can pounce on that.
Correct.
Like, again, the First Amendment,
Go ahead.
right? Perhaps the Third Amendment, perhaps the Fourth, perhaps the Fifth.
Well, elaborate.
You know, those horrible things that Andrew hates.
Right.
Would you use force or enable government to use force in order to make sure people had due process?
Due process is something that we put into place as a law because it was voted on by the people.
Yeah, but it's still a social
Christian
construct.
doctrine is not voted on by the people.
Let's say that people voted on it then.
That would be okay.
Then it's fine,
Yes.
even though it's not true?
Yes, because that's how America works. Luckily for us, all of us, we have similar values, so we wouldn't vote something like that. But that's how America works.
Say that people voted on it then.
That would be okay.
Then it's fine,
Yes.
even though it's not true?
Correct.
Yeah, but voting in democracy and the idea of democracy, that's just an arbitrary social construct as well.
So are you a communist?
No, but what does that have to do with my point?
Your point is that no one voted on
You know what?
Christian
Here,
ethics.
yes, I'm a communist.
Right.
Is that also a made-up social construct?
No, it's
not?
No, it's not.
That's not. Okay, why isn't it?
The term, of course, is made up, but the
Yeah.
All right.
Appreciate it, man.
Thanks, man.
Yeah, no problem.
I would have loved to see where that went, because that is, you know, that's starting a whole new thing of are you a communist? And you know, maybe he was going somewhere with that, but only 5 minutes. And again, not Andrew's fault, but well, you would love to have a conversation with Andrew Wilson. All right, is that you? Are you up next?
No.
Oh boy, we
Hey,
got our
open
boy.
palm.
All right. So again, guys, I want that same level of roastitude. The same level you roasted me. We got to roast Gabriel. We got to get better at this. And that is the only way. I won't be holding back. So love you, brother, but let's get into it.
Lots of shaking hand. We don't have to shake hands.
No,
I
we
guess
don't
like
have
every
to.
10 minutes,
No,
right?
right?
Yeah.
It just becomes a little bit more awkward. So may you rephrase your question again?
Yeah, so rights aren't real, right? All that exists is force.
Then what type of force would be acceptable for us to exist in? What's the need for force to begin with?
It would be
So I like how you are instantly throwing it back to him to expound on what he means. Again, that is something I definitely should have done.
Exist in? What's the need for force to begin with?
it would be to push our will.
Okay, whose will? As an individual?
Whoever has the force.
Okay, whoever has the force. So if God has the force.
Yeah, then he's going to be able to push his will. Sure.
Okay, now would he be righteously justified, let's just say, depending on situational circumstance, to push his will, but in a way that is actually acceptable? Let's say persuasion.
Well, let's assume there's no God. Let's just assume it for a second for the sake of argument. There's no
Okay.
God, right?
You good?
So my main thing here is that I should have went even harder to go against its pivot, because I brought up the word persuasion rather than force, and it basically breeds a new set of outcomes and results that really would attack his worldview of force in its totality. So that's just a point I want to bring up.
Word up. There was one thing you said.
To be righteously justified, let's just say, depending on situational circumstance, to push his will, but in a way that is actually acceptable. Let's say,
Again, I like that you are accepting his premise that maybe there's a God exists and so on and so forth, and then throwing it back to him. So like, what play this out, because all of us, we're trying to say, what's your point? What are you getting at? What like land the plane? What is it that you are trying to say? And you're throwing it back on him to actually make a point.
So it's also understanding, like, we know the game of Jenga. basically at what point of that layering of our interactions, especially on his side, that we say, okay, this stops now. Let's figure this out of the structure we just created. If you just keep letting him go on and on and on and on, eventually the whole thing's going to topple. So, I mean, that's just a reflective point of view.
Fair enough. Yeah. So far, so good, brother. So far, so good, guys. Don't forget about Morty. He is hungry. He is hungry.
Circumstance to push his will, but in a way that is actually acceptable. Let's say persuasion.
Well, let's assume there's no God. Let's just assume it for a second for the sake of argument. There's no
Okay.
God.
And so that, I mean, that's a good, that is a pivot, but that is a good pivot because you don't necessarily know that it's not connected. Because if you were to say, well, how is that connected? Or how is that relevant? Then he likely already has something in mind that is relevant. But because you don't know it, it's easy for him to throw you off with that. Good observation. Thank you. Box said, I don't tend to use force like ever, but somehow this keeps going. When was the last time anyone here used real physical force on another person? Not recently, but to the reason that I agree with Andrew is that we know that we don't need to use physical force because if we tried to do that, then a bigger physical force would come back, and that's the point that he was. That's the point that he was making when I was up there, and he was saying force is on your side. And again, if we had more time, I would have been like, okay, yes, if you attacked me now, I eventually would be able to call the cops and have the government and blah, 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 blah. But just within this context, if you decided to just get up and punch me in the face, there's nothing that I could do to stop you. But that doesn't tell us anything. We already know that. So what are you getting at? So Gabriel's doing a good job of teasing that out. What is it that you're trying to get at, Andrew? What is it? Feed Morty.
Persuasion.
Well, let's assume there's no God.
I'm gonna start being more mean to you guys about this. I see other streamers being like, "Fuck you, my goal's not met." I'm too nice to you, motherfuckers, and that's why I'm broke.
But in a way that is actually acceptable. Let's say persuasion.
Well, let's assume there's no God. Let's just assume it for a second for the sake of argument. There's no
Okay.
God, right?
There is no God.
What are you
Okay.
left with?
Well, you have to start with yourself. You have to accept that you do. You.
Okay, so I
correct.
think, therefore I am. So you exist.
Correct.
Okay.
But now there's
But
other
everything
Shout out to Descartes.
else that you're engaging in, is that a product of the mind?
That's actually, hold on. I want to.
You have to accept that you do. You.
Okay, so I
correct.
think, therefore I am. So you exist.
Oh, so I thought that atheists had nothing to ground their morality and nothing to stand on. But you just quoted a fundamental philosopher on which I base my entire worldview. It's almost like you understand, but you don't. Little bit. You understand. You just don't understand that you understand.
Start with yourself. You have to accept that you do. You.
Okay, so I
correct.
think, therefore I am. So you exist.
Correct.
Okay.
But now there's
But
other people.
everything else that you're engaging in, is that a product of the mind?
Maybe.
It plays a part. There's other factors that need to be accounted for other than the mind. I mean, the mind is just one aspect.
But when we're talking about right,
So I would. This is my first criticism: is that you have a very the way that your mind works. You have a lot of ideas that you can tie together, but it's not always easy to follow along with that. And when I mean, in this context, it works out because we're trying to run the clock out on Andrew. But if we were actually there in good faith, the what was the question? What did he say?
everything else that you're engaging in, is that a product of the mind?
So if everything else you're engaging in is that a product of the mind, and then when you bring up something else, that's kind of dodging the question. And so you would want to address, that's a yes or no question. And maybe you want to expound on why it's yes or why it's not a perfect yes or why it's not a perfect no. But that would be that's a pet peeve of mine when I ask people questions and then they don't answer the question.
Could it be the opposite?
How do you mean?
Well, to fulfill the question that is being asked to its complete format. I mean, it's one specific factor you're accounting for, but I'm the type of person that would like to count everything on the table to basically see everything be in harmony. I mean, that's the way I see it. I mean, the mind, if it's really heart, body, mind, and soul, and let's just say these are the four factors, and he's highlighting one out of the other three, then it's like I'm obligated to, because I'm persuaded to account for the other factor that eventually, whether they get in or not in the conversation, is just pointing it out. Is not just the mind.
Fair enough. Fair enough. I definitely see that. I think that if again, outside of this context, I found it's more useful to first answer the question and then elaborate instead of
Answer
trying
the
to
question.
elaborate first. But just a
Agreed.
just a
Okay.
But now there's
But
other people.
everything else that you're engaging in, is that a product of the mind?
It plays a part. There's other factors that need to be accounted for other than the mind. I mean, the mind is just one aspect.
But when we're talking about rights,
Correct.
are
Right.
those a product of the mind?
It's a byproduct.
If there's no God,
If
there's no
if
God,
there's no God,
yeah, are rights just a product of the mind?
it's a byproduct.
Yeah.
It's after the fact.
It's just a product of, meaning people just made them up.
Well, they made it up for what variety of reasons?
Yeah, but regardless of the reasons why.
Okay.
So that's where a lot of people are starting to be like, hold on, because you're moving on to because he asked you if it's part of the brain. And so the answer to that is yes. You're saying it's a byproduct of the brain. It's a part of it. So that would be yes. And then you move on to the other parts, and then you're moving on to the reasons why. And so it's I can see that you have somewhere that you're going, but again, in this type of short context, being concise really helps you. There's so
Okay, I see what you mean, and it hinders me because I'm not progressing forward to the next part.
Right.
I'm basically trying to tie down something I shouldn't have. Okay.
Right. And we say over and over. 5 minutes is 5 minutes. That's not enough time to have a debate. But the just in general, the more concise you can be, in the same way you were talking about, not necessarily being so much on the offense. The more you can be laid back and just be like, no, that's not what I said. Then similarly, the more concise you can be, the more easily people can understand what your bottom line is.
Understood.
But so the reason we made the rights we made is important, and it's not God. See, George Carlin, you have no rights. Shout out to George Carlin. And I was, I was thinking over the years of like, what was the first thing that made me think, do I really believe in this Christianity stuff? And I think it might have been this bit. I can't say for sure. There was something that happened later, and I was a Christian long after I saw this, but I think it planted the seed. So let's dive back in here.
People just made them up.
Well, they made it up for what variety of reasons?
Yeah, but regardless of the reasons why.
Okay.
Right.
Regardless.
They made up our rights. Made up.
Okay. Let's in the real world.
Yeah.
We have been given these rights because we
you have a right to own a gun, right? According to the Constitution.
Oh, according to the Constitution.
Yeah, that's what Andrew's doing, is trying to nail you down on a specific question. And in certain contexts, well, not even. I think in general, when it seems like you're trying to avoid a question, it seems like you know that you don't have the answer that sounds good, and you're trying to avoid it, as opposed to owning the fact that, okay, this part of it, yeah, I'm going to concede a little bit to you, but that doesn't matter because my overall point is I can stand behind that. So yeah, I can give you this little piece. And so an example I use, I can't think of the specific, but if you ever you're in a debate with somebody and they're talking about how something is not the case. That's not the case. You're saying something is the case, and that's not the case. And then they do something like, okay, let's say, just how Andrew did. Let's say no God does exist. Let's say you're right. That's conceding a little bit. Even though he doesn't believe that no God exists, he's able to see my larger point still stands. And so even if I give away this part of it, then the rest still matters. And it's definitely that's the skill of debate, is being able to do those calculations in real time. And love him or hate him, he's good at it.
Understood.
Mark said he put aside the strongest part of the argument you made. I would hold him to that again. What specific point are you talking about, Box?
Probably
I
the
don't-
beginning.
Yeah, I don't disagree. I'm just curious which specific point you're asking.
To own a gun, right?
Uh,
According to the Constitution.
oh, according to the
So
Constitution.
what? Yeah, and so what he's trying to do when he says, okay, so you have a right to own a gun. He was asking you in the abstract, rights don't really exist, and so and we were dancing around. So now he's like, okay, a specific example. You have the right to own a gun, right? Does that right actually exist? Yes, of course it exists. It just isn't tangible. And that is so Box said, regardless of why we made the rights, just a complete swerve.
Yes.
Well, I'm going to disagree because the when Gabriel brought up the reasons why, that was a pivot from what Andrew was asking. Andrew was asking, is that made up? I think the answer that we all agree with is yes. In the context that he's talking about, does it actually exist in a physical form? No. But that doesn't mean that it doesn't exist. And we all could have been better at making that distinction. That just because you can't touch something doesn't mean it doesn't exist. Because especially he immediately went to duties, and you can't. I mean, let's talk about putting your hand in shit. Can't touch duty.
Mhm.
Like you have a right to own a gun, right? According to the Constitution.
Oh, according to the Constitution.
Yeah.
We have a right to defend ourselves,
To own a gun.
to own a gun. Yes.
Yeah.
In the legal sense.
But is that made up?
Is that made up? It need to be tested, but sure,
Yeah, it's made up, right?
it's made up.
So again, he's asking, is that a made up yes or no? And so even if you don't have a like, even if the response is well, yes, but, or no, but, then it's a better move to just answer and then expound.
It need to be tested, but sure,
Yeah, it's made up, right?
it's made up.
So then if some
So you see, he just gives you the answer that he wants. He just says it.
It need to be tested, but sure,
yeah, it's made up, right?
it's made up.
So then if somebody violates this made up right,
Yes.
right? And you can use force to defend this made up right,
Yes.
then even if Christianity was made up, why couldn't you use force to defend it?
Well, would it be righteously justified or unrighteously unjustified? So really, we have to go to the actual fundamental foundation of existence.
Yeah, but I'm
That-
talking from the view of the atheist.
Well, the view of the
So again, we have the view of the atheist. That is not a thing that exists, Andrew. That is not a thing that exists. I use dog owners all the time. If we're talking about politics, there's no such thing as the dog owner's philosophy or the dog owner's position on politics. Some people who own dogs think this, and some people who own dogs think that. There's no connection. There's no correlation. I mean, there might be some correlation, but it's not a thing.
I'm not an atheist, by the way. So the Andrew Wilson believes I'm an atheist. So again, I'm trying to think as someone else who believes in atheism, or at least like, what is atheism? I didn't look. I'm a newbie. I'm a novice to this whole
Atheism
debating
is
realm.
just the philosophical position that you do not hold an affirmative belief in a god or multiple gods. There's not one of the gods that you know of or that you don't know of that I say, yes, I believe in that. There is also, well, we'll talk about Christianity. That also includes, as an agnostic atheist, I am not saying that Christianity is all made up, that Jesus couldn't have been, what he said he was, that God doesn't exist. I'm not making those claims. I don't believe they're true, but I'm not making those claims. I just don't believe in them yet, for all intents and purposes. If it comes out that those things are proven by evidence, then I'll accept the truth. But right now, it's he and other Christians are asking for special pleading that, okay, well, with everything else, you need empirical proof. But with this thing, just trust it on faith. I'm good, bro. I'm good.
fundamental foundation of existence.
Yeah, but I'm
That-
talking from the view of the atheist.
Well, the view of the
From
atheist.
the view of the atheist or the view of the secularist, if rights don't actually exist, but they can use force in order to defend them, right? These things that they just literally admit are made up.
Correct.
If their criticism of you, the Christian, is that you have made up Christianity, who cares? You can still use force to defend this made up thing, right?
Mm-hmm.
Correct.
So from their
And then
view, it's totally coherent totally appropriate and totally reasonable and rational for you to have a completely made up God and then use force to defend that?
Well, it really goes back to the truth claim of who's actually in the right and who's actually in the wrong. Because just
it all comes back to, are you correct that God is the objective standard? That matters. And smartly, a lot of the Christian debate bros have gotten away from arguing, does God exist? Because they can't win that debate. And so they move to, is Christianity better than secular humanism? And yeah, it is, but that doesn't mean that Christianity is true. Nick said it's hard to try to critique your debate knowing the situation. It feels like it wasn't forced well for making any real points in 5 minutes. Yeah, and again, as much as I would love to put that on Andrew, that is, just a more circumstantial thing. And I'm hoping that, because they're doing this again with Destiny at one of the debate cons, and then I'm pretty sure I saw that they're doing it again with Andrew, and so hopefully they switch it up a little bit. But even, for all the shit we're gonna give Destiny would understand if I'm going to if I'm going to debate Christians, then I'm going to talk about Christianity. Oh yeah, it wasn't focused well for making any real good points. Great.
Well, it really goes back to the truth claim of who's actually in the right and who's actually in the wrong. Because just because you go on the right path doesn't mean
I
it's
claim
correct.
all atheism on all non-theists.
Yes.
All of their worldviews will eventually reduce to the barrel of a gun.
Agreed, whether it be short term, middle of the road.
Yet again, every single person has agreed with the prompt that you brought to debate. I don't understand how, by definition, that isn't a bad prompt. Somebody make the argument.
Be reduced to the barrel of a gun.
Agreed, whether it be short term, middle of the road, or even
Yes.
the long term, it cannot survive the totality.
Yeah, it has to be through the barrel of a gun and force of will. And so I think that they're lying to us when they say that they want to rule because they're the only ones who can rule fairly. What they really want is a monopoly on force.
Who is they? Who the fuck are you talking about, Andrew?
And they say that the shit that we made up is better than the shit you made up, while at the same time claiming they shouldn't follow what you made up because it's not true.
Projection. Actually, you're the one who's claiming that something is true, thus should be dictated in society without the without justification. You're the one doing that. Let's do it again.
They want a monopoly on. They want to rule because they're the only ones who can rule fairly. What they really
God is the only way.
want is a monopoly on force.
It has to be according to God.
And they say that the shit that we made up is better than the shit you made up,
What are we doing here?
while at the same time claiming they shouldn't follow what you made up because it's not true.
So who are they really?
Yeah, exactly. Nick's bringing up Christianity started out at the point of a sword and moved to the barrel of a gun. That's not a debatable thing. That's just a statement of fact.
At the same time claiming they shouldn't follow what you made up because it's not true.
So who are they really sacrificing then? They're basically sacrificing everyone else but themselves and their own
Yes,
group.
yes, that's correct. They just want a monopoly on force. And they don't want Christians to have the monopoly on force.
Because they don't want to be proven
Yes,
wrong.
but I'm claiming that if it is the case that all of these rights, human rights, dignities, things like this are completely made up, arbitrarily made up because they just really like them, but they know that they're not true and they're willing to use force, then even if they thought they were true and were willing to use force, even if they did think that, it wouldn't matter, right? Because you could always apply the same standard back. You can just say, hey, look, you believe in something that isn't true. You're willing to use force to defend it. Even if I believe in something that isn't true, you really can't say I can't use force to defend it.
Well, wouldn't that be a tragic vanity of being in vain? That it's all for naught? It's just for the temporariness.
Yeah,
of...
well, the point here, whether or not it's vanity, is just to say they believe in something that they don't think is true, but they're willing to use force for it. Okay,
Understood.
thank you.
Appreciate the talk. Oh, we don't even have to.
Yeah, we don't even have to.
So, we see that, number one was not very good for fostering discussion, not very good for exploring different ideas, exploring how atheists think about this thing versus how a Christian thinks about this thing, because it is a bad prompt. It is a bad prompt. So I didn't necessarily think that it would take this long to get through one video, but I definitely want to go through some of the Rachel Wilson one that they put out. I don't know how much time you have, Gabriel, but we'll go for a little while. And Gabriel, if you got to go, and if y'all in the chat keep the party raging, we will keep it going.
So yeah, I can still push through. It's just when it's time, it's time. If anything, next time, I got no problem with that at all.
Yeah,
I
we
know
can
they
definitely
just
push
they released a 4th video. I don't know if you've seen that one. Okay,
Yeah.
and are you heading to Tennessee to the next debate con?
Nah, I think the specifically the debate con is not the best. I mean, when it was here in Jersey, where in my home state, like it made sense to go. But I mean, especially because all of the debates are streamed, then the only reason to go is the networking, and it's just too small of an event. It's too like the speakers are not really among the attendees as much. Like you would see them here and there. Like we even hung out with Andrew Wilson for a little bit. But if you're going there for networking and you don't really have too many people to network with, then it's not really worth it. And it's I mean I would love for it to be worth it. But I don't have the money to do that. Because then if we're talking about going to Tennessee, now I gotta get a plane or a shit ton of gas. I gotta get a hotel. And then I gotta worry about what's going on with Morty, all that kind of stuff.
Understood.
So, all right, so let's dive into Rachel Wilson, and we'll see how far we get, and we'll do what we do. Don't forget, we do not have a sponsor. We have gotten no treats for Morty, and that is not okay.
Women are oppressed currently in this world.
Oh,
right?
explain.
Less
I'd
so.
love to know how.
What do you mean?
Any
They can't
example?
drive. They can't go out without.
They can't drive?
In certain countries, absolutely, women are oppressed. Are you
Where?
literally denying that women are not oppressed in this world?
I don't even think
I
it
agree, but
amounts
but
to
we
oppression.
agree that was oppression.
I
They
don't
were
agree
oppressed.
that that was oppression
So the
at
government
all.
saying that people cannot vote in the country they live is not oppression.
No, because
Just because it was a wrong before that for men doesn't mean that it still was unequal.
so do you think that we would have the welfare state without female voters? Do you think the welfare state is a good thing?
A shout out to a box with the $2 make you holla. Thank you. Said, who let the woman speak? Jeez. Thank you. Eat it, Morty. What are you doing? He's so lazy. He won't even extend his neck. I've got to bring it all the way right in front of his face. Thank you very, very much, sir. Of course, that makes you the new sponsor of the stream.
Okay, the first topic is feminism was not a reaction to oppression. Hi. Nice to meet you too.
I guess a natural first question is what you think it arose from.
So the story most everyone's heard is that the reason feminism came about is because the evil patriarchy was oppressing the women, and they looked around one day and they went, oh no, we're being oppressed. We have to march and protest until we're equal. That's really not how it happened at all. It was more of an astroturfed social engineering project by radical revolutionaries and wealthy industrialists.
So I'm just going to be honest. I don't know enough about the history of feminism to say whether you're right or wrong. So I guess I kind of would rather just get to the meat of what I'm assuming you're saying,
Sure.
which is that feminism is inherently wrong, right?
So then again, we are at 4:18 before the conversation begins because it's a bad prompt. Feminism has nothing to do with atheism. So some atheists are going to be feminism, yay. I am an atheist and I'm like feminism, fuck no. Bad prompt. These people don't understand the people they are talking to.
Because it wasn't founded by oppressed women. It was founded by some other, corrupt industry.
That, and people just have this assumption because of over 100 years of propaganda that women were historically oppressed, when I don't think that's accurate at all. I don't think there's any real evidence that women were oppressed compared to men, for instance.
So what about parts of our history where there were just objectively unequal rights, like voting, for instance?
So in the West, most men only gained the right to suffrage maybe a decade or so before women did.
So what you're saying is men were oppressed and then women also were oppressed.
So people assume that as soon as we had, various forms of democracy, either in America or England, that all men could vote. That's not the case. It was a very
Nobody said it was.
small group of men. There were a lot of caveats. It depends the time and place, but you had to either be a landowner, you had to have certain other various requirements. Sometimes you had to pay a poll tax in order to be able to vote. So in England, for example.
Right. So were all those people oppressed? And if not, what do you call that? What do you call that? Buck said, also a pro-atheist, anti-feminist, but you do get a lot of male feminists among atheists overall. And yeah, that's why I completely understand that they think that, atheist means a certain thing, but they're wrong. It's just that simple. They're wrong.
Sometimes you had to pay a poll tax in order to be able to vote. So in England, for example, men only gained universal suffrage about a decade before women did.
But it's good that we made that progress, right?
I don't think so, but that's a separate prompt.
Okay, fair enough.
See, that is unfair because she did the same exact thing to me. She did the same exact thing to me. Where it's like, well, yeah, but let's talk about something else. It's like, bitch, are we here or are we not? What are we doing?
Progress, right?
I don't think so, but that's a separate prompt.
Okay, fair enough.
So again, now we are at 3 minutes and we finally have a conversation going. It's like, no, we're going to talk about that later. Well, then let's talk about it later. We only have 5 minutes. It's not like you're going to run out of time.
Yeah, I don't really know where to go from there then, because
run out of things to say.
Again, regardless of the
exactly. Yeah, if you're going to just stop and be like, nope, I'm not talking about that, then what are you doing?
Enough. Yeah, I don't really know where to go from there then, because again, regardless of the circumstances by which feminism arose,
I wish I would have been. I wish both of us would just been like, I don't care. Can you answer the question or not?
Is kind of indifferent to me. This is kind of similar to conversations like I had earlier, as far as like religion, for example, in society, right? It's more about the effects of it. And so, regardless of the circumstances of how feminism arose, I think that the effects of it are probably advantageous.
I think.
And so again, 242, before we get to a prompt where we can actually debate. He thinks feminism is good, and she thinks feminism is bad. Why didn't you just say feminism is bad?
The circumstances of how feminism arose, I think that the effects of it are probably advantageous.
I think the effects are deeply disadvantageous to both men and women. And I think women, if your concern is for women, we were better off prior to our liberation from the evil patriarchy. If you look at every metric that we have to assess women's happiness and well-being in modern times, it's lower than it was prior to when they started tracking this around the 1960s.
So I think there's a problem with the data tracking there, right? I don't know this figures specifically, but I mean, we have a lot less horses in our military than we also did back in like the 1800s, right? So sure. I think that.
Well, let me ask you, what do you think it did for women? Why do you think, or for anyone, what do you think the advantages are? Why was it good?
Well, I think specifically just giving equal footing and opportunity to women, which I don't think is even entirely fulfilled at this point, but I'm sure that I'm not saying there's anything wrong.
I do, but I agree. I think that under the law, people should be treated equally. Crazy.
Is even entirely fulfilled at this point, but I'm sure that I'm not saying there's anything wrong with the traditional, female role.
What opportunities did they not have?
Well, voting for one, but even in the workplace,
men
right?
Couldn't vote either for the most part.
Yeah.
So.
Why does that mean that that's not? It's not mutually exclusive. It's not like only one group of people can be oppressed at a time. Men were oppressed, as well as the women.
One, but even in the workplace,
men
right?
couldn't vote either.
Going back to that,
yeah, and we fixed it, right? So I think that this is, just because it was a wrong before that for men doesn't.
And yet now we are at 1 minute and 33, and we are at the exact same spot in the conversation we were at 2 minutes and whatever, where she fucking swerved. But she wins, right? She wins.
Right. So I think that this is, just because it was a wrong before that for men doesn't mean that it still was unequal.
So do you think that we would have the welfare state without female voters? Do you think the welfare state is a good thing?
I don't understand the question. I apologize.
So would we have massive entitlement spending? Would we have food stamps? Would we have open borders and all these perks for immigrants coming in where they're getting free housing and healthcare and food if it weren't for female voters?
What the fuck does that have to do with the basis of feminism?
Mm-hmm. I think you still would. I don't think female voters necessarily have to sway those things, but I also...
The data says that overwhelmingly they are the most reliable voting bloc for all types of entitlements, especially open borders and immigration.
Yep. If you go back though, historically, right, and again, I didn't know the topic, so I don't have any literature to like literally support this, but women had a lot of influence in the House, even when they couldn't vote, right?
Exactly.
So, but we gave the ability to women to express their own independent votes. They are a vote. And so if, let's just say you're right, that women are a major proponent for, policies we see in immigration, who cares? They're still a part of our populace. They get to have a say on this.
If you're a woman and you're living in New York City or other places where there's tons of illegal immigration and you're now being subjected to disproportional amounts of violence that you weren't subjected to before.
That's not true.
Okay.
No,
go ahead and substantiate that.
Yeah. So illegal immigrants specifically, if you obviously remove the illegal part of the immigration, literally just commit crimes at lower rates than national.
Oh, come on! Oh, if anybody is on the left and in favor of illegal immigration, stop using that talking point. It is so bad. It is so bad. Because just because they commit less crime, unless they commit no crime, then they're still adding crime. I think this was
illegal part of the immigration, literally just commit crimes at lower rates than national.
So you think that all the Mexican gangs?
All right. Thank you.
Sure.
Thoughts, Gabriel?
Thoughts of the first one? No comment. I gotta watch it again 2 to 3 more times, to be honest. It's
women.
Well, feminism was just like, I wasn't expecting this at all.
We weren't expecting her, much less her fucking feminism.
But then also the people who's reacting to this is also labeling us different types of labels. I mean, it's funny for me. I didn't know I was a secularist, a feminist. I was like, oh wow.
Well, I noticed they changed all of the titles to just versus 5. It's not.
Yeah.
They got rid of the atheist part, but like that's
4.5, 4.5, 4. I mean, they didn't even change it. So.
All right, me again, guys. Get it. Give it to me hard.
Sure.
Hello there.
Hello.
Well, surprise, surprise. I agree with Wilson, but is it fair to, since we agree on feminism specifically, is it fair to shift it to women voting specifically?
Well, there's going to be a few prompts along those lines. So this first one is just that feminism was not a reaction to oppression of women by men.
Okay, but yet I agree with that. So what do you want me to do? I specifically said that. Yeah, I think a lot of people agree with that. Again, I think that's my tactic here was try to be like you're weird for thinking that people would disagree, and just a random atheist would disagree with this, because it is a random leftist. That makes sense, but yet again, atheists are not necessarily leftists. I think a lot of people agree with that. Again, I think that's there's a lot of people that don't.
Of people don't agree that that's the case, and they would say, well, if that's the case, why do we have it? How did we get it if it wasn't a reaction to some kind of oppression?
The same way we still have feminism today, that people can be wrong, and a lot of people can be wrong. I think a lot of people, it seems like you present that as like, oh, people are going to disagree with me.
They do all the time, every day. So every gender studies professor in every major university would disagree with me, and they would say,
yeah, but they're gender studies professors. Who gives a fuck about what they say?
Well, we got to be honest now, too. She just said every. If I find that one, her entire argument just gets destroyed. Just the one. That's all I got to do.
Fair enough. And I mean, yeah, that is we got to get down to that level. If she's not letting the conversation move to anywhere where we can talk.
That the reason feminism and women's liberation activism was necessary was because there were certain aspects where women were oppressed by men.
Sure. But don't you think, especially with the last election, it's shown that the opinions that unfortunately absolutely were infiltrated by these types of professors and throughout society, doesn't that show that there was the silent majority? A lot of people didn't really want to go along with it, but they were too scared to be on the wrong side of history or whatever. And that now that we're starting to see, there's a lot more people who are normal, like who just see, yeah, obviously feminism is this, obviously pride parades are too crazy, all that stuff.
Well, if you agree with me on the prompt, I'm not sure how I'm supposed to argue with you, but
I agree. But I didn't make the prompt. You made the prompt.
Right. But if you don't disagree with me on the prompt, am I supposed to change the prompt or change my...
Yes. That is what a conversation is. You sat down for a debate and you presented something that I agreed with. So yes, I tried to do that. So did the first guy. We said, no, we're just going to stay here on the thing that we both agree with and argue about the thing that we both agree with. What?
But then also we never even got the information that this was going to be the prompt to even get a feedback to say change the prompt or at least adapt.
Right. Well, the blood sport debaters, they had to hide it because they were scared of 5 atheists. 4.5.
Right. But if you don't disagree with me on the prompt, am I supposed to change the prompt or change my position or change my? You could challenge me on something else, I suppose.
I did, but you said you have a different prompt.
You said that.
So, okay,
what's
well
your
then- so
proposition?
what-
is that
what-
people do agree with me? You think that the vast
Yeah,
majority
I
of
think-
people think
yeah.
that feminism was not a reaction to oppression?
I don't know. I don't know what people think about the origins, but I think it's far more common that people be like, I don't really know the origins, but wherever it is today, like it definitely wasn't this. And I'll say, even anecdotally, even calling myself an atheist, I've been thinking about that title in the same way as feminism. Like if you see an
Because you think of me as one of them.
just an average a woman today, and she says, I care about the equality of the genders. Like, you wouldn't call, oh, you're a feminist?
Yes, I would.
Well,
Feminism-
maybe you would, but again, the average person believes that there should be equality of the genders. And so when you're like, a feminist,
I don't think
it's when you're
equality of
talking
the
about,
genders is
men
possible.
are this, or I need 9-month abortions. That's the understanding that people have when we use that word. I think you're underestimating the amount of people who do see through all the BS that has held up until very recently. And there's a lot of people still there, but I don't know who you're talking to if they're disagreeing with you, but I don't know how well they represent average people.
Well, the gentleman who just sat there before you said that he felt that women not being able to vote was an example of women being oppressed.
I agree with that, but I don't think that means.
Why do you think
doesn't mean
that? Why do you think that was oppression?
I
Because
mean,
one
in the
group
loosest
couldn't
term,
vote.
it's just the government not allowing you to do something. Is that not?
Yeah, the government.
So that's my claim now. So that I am calling the government not allowing you to do something in the loosest term oppression, and she disagrees with that. Fine. So then what do you call it? Let's talk about that.
In
One
the
group
loosest
couldn't
term,
vote.
it's just the government not allowing you to do something. Is that not?
Yeah, the government didn't allow lots of people to do lots of things. So I
yeah,
don't see
yeah,
how you
so
could
that-
say that this is an
Right,
example that women are
oppression
oppressed.
isn't the end of the world necessarily.
I don't even think
I
it
agree, but
amounts to
but we agree
oppression.
that was oppression.
I
they
don't
were
agree
oppressed.
that that was oppression
So the
at
government
all.
saying that people cannot vote in the country they live is not oppression.
No, because this country was never founded with universal suffrage. It was never intended to be something where one person, one vote was the way that they did things. It was supposed to be people with stake in the game.
How would you characterize that notion of a person living in a country and they can't be part of the decision?
Right
What would you
now,
call that?
there's a lot of things I don't have
Not answering the question.
any participation in the decision making. There's a lot. Like during COVID restrictions, for example, I had no say. You had no say. The things were dictated to us from the top down.
I just got 30 seconds. So what would you call that aspect? I live in a country and I don't have. That's called. It's not oppression.
It's just not oppression is a very specific thing. It means that you're
I know that. We've already agreed it's not oppression. I'm asking you what it is. I'm not asking you what it's not. I'm asking you what it is.
It's just not oppression is a very specific thing. It means that you're intentionally being
How do you think I feel?
held down.
Okay, so then it's
Right.
that.
I don't think it's holding you down. You can still live your life and do what you want. You don't
And
need
a lot of people don't vote and still live their lives.
Voting isn't necessary to
Nobody
quality
said
of
it
life or
was.
freedom at all.
Straw man after pivot after moving the fucking goalpost.
Really, you as a woman not being able to vote does not equal
not
you
a
being
woman.
oppressed.
Sorry.
All right, Chris, Mr. Lib. Let's see where this is gonna go. I have a feeling that this is where we're all gonna agree with Rachel the most.
If feminism wasn't a response to oppression, why the hell does feminism exist?
I'll tell you why. There was a small group of radical revolutionaries who felt that the current system prior to this that we had through all of history was inherently oppressive to women because they felt that women and men were equal, that they're basically the same. They just have different reproductive organs, right? And that's really the only difference. They should be anything a man could do, a woman should be doing. This is a very arbitrary stance to take.
Should be able to do, not should be doing. Should be able to do.
Anything a man could do, a woman should be doing. This is a very arbitrary stance to take. And if you look historically at what rights men and women had, I think you could argue men were more oppressed than women prior even to feminism.
Seriously?
Yes, 100%.
I would agree with that, but what are we counting as oppression? And just because men are oppressed doesn't mean that women are not oppressed. This is a basic logical point.
Men were in what way? How were men more oppressed than women?
Well, women haven't ever been conscripted to go fight and die in wars, and especially prior to feminism, that was a really brutal thing. About 80% of men historically have ended up not, well, no, it's 60% of men historically have never been able to reproduce. They've never had the opportunity, whether it's because they died young as cannon fodder, couldn't get a wife, weren't selected to be married. Women, all
Let's remember, she had the time to look up statistics and memorize this shit, and we are just going off the seat of our pants.
you have to do is be fertile, and you're going to have progeny. You're never going to be sent to the front lines in a war that you don't want to fight in. They don't have to work in coal mines. They don't have to do the dirty, dangerous jobs that men have to
Sure,
do.
women are very privileged. What does that have to do with
Yes.
feminism and
Well,
how
it's
it came
not-
about?
You can't claim that women are oppressed and also claim that
Women
they're privileged.
definitely were. Do you
How could they be
do-
privileged and be oppressed?
Wait.
Because I don't agree with I keep forgetting his name. What's the fuck? Chris? I keep forgetting his name. But like, just because I disagree with him doesn't mean that the objections that Rachel is raising means that they're right. What is that?
Feminism and
Well,
how
it's
it
not.
came about.
You can't claim that women are oppressed and also claim that
Women
they're privileged.
They can be oppressed in a certain sense and privileged in a different sense, even though I'm not claiming that is the case. Yet again, we have a false dichotomy. These people are unable to understand two ideas at the same time. The good one or the bad one? Is this one or is that one? Andrew and Rachel Wilson. Buck said, only landowners used to be able to vote. How about only millionaires that have 50% of their wealth in gold can vote? They can, reject the dichotomy outright.
I would have say
That's ants.
so. Oppression breeds rebellion. Oppression. Okay, so if I was punished and something was taken away from me, would that even be considered oppression? But then again, I'm being punished because, I did something in the wrong.
Right. So I would say, no, that's not oppression. But that's kind of what I was trying to get at with the end of mine thing with Rachel, is that like, okay, we disagree that what actually happened is called oppression. But I don't care, just like before when I was talking about conceding parts that don't matter. I don't care about the word oppression. I'm talking about the fact that the government didn't let people do things. So what do you call that? It's like, well, it's COVID, blah, 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 blah. Okay, I don't care. What do you call when a government won't allow people to do things? Or on the opposite, when you're talking about conscription, what do you call that? When a government can force a person to go to war against their will? Whatever word you want to use for it, that's what I'm talking about. That happened to women. That happened to men. That was the larger point. And Chris thinks that it's still happening today. Again, I personally disagree, but that's a fair position.
Wouldn't it be called obligations?
Potentially, and words do matter. That's potentially, but that's why I raised the question. What do you call it? I am talking about the fact that the government was not allowing certain people to do certain things. We agree that there was a period of time when men were not automatically allowed to vote. What do you call the notion that only landowners can vote? What if it's not oppression? Then it's what? And she can't answer the question.
Okay,
She ran out the clock.
how about obligational restrictions?
Yeah, I mean that I would be okay with that, and then I'd be like, "Do you disagree that there's obligational restrictions on women that didn't happen on men?" And she would have to say yes, because that is the fact of the matter. But she wants to hone on the oppression thing because she thinks I'm a leftist, and she thinks I'm like, "But women are so oppressed." That's not my position. And yet, because we only had 5 minutes, she's very, very well able to keep that straw man going.
Okay, so last point. Would this even be considered good faith in having this type of? Okay, understood.
No,
Understood.
good faith means that you're coming to the table trying to honestly represent your positions and honestly understand the other person's positions and trying to establish that your positions are better than their positions. Not that you're going to use some tactics to run out the clock or to make you look stupid, or that here's my idea. I want to represent your idea as best as I can because I genuinely believe that my idea is better. So I'm not going to make your idea seem weaker because then if I win against a weaker idea, that's not as good as winning against a stronger idea. So I want your argument to be as strong as possible, because I still believe my argument is better. When you don't believe your argument is better, then you have to drag down the conversation with logical fallacies, ad hominems, moving the goalpost, straw men, so on and so forth. It's not good faith, in fact, brother. It's not good faith, in fact.
Okay, so it's bad faith, and it's even worse, evil faith, because because
I wouldn't go that far.
well,
Because
no.
Go ahead.
Yeah, so like bad faith is a missed opportunity. But what happens when there's those individuals that does it fully in intent?
Well, that is what the intention. That is what makes it good faith versus bad faith. So if you are mistakenly, if you are trying, that's why we talk about good faith means the intention. So if you are, so like a lot of people gave you shit on a lot of these for, dodging questions and talking about different things, but you weren't doing that with the intention of trying to run out the clock or with the intention of trying to make a trick. You were just talking, and that's what you truly believe. Those were your genuine responses. And so even you may have moved, whether you moved the goalpost or you dodged a question or you did this or you did that, that doesn't make it bad faith. The intention is what makes it bad faith.
So for me to say, I don't know, but then again, I'm trying to know, but in this environment with this limited time, and then to move forward from there, that's definitely my difficulties, especially with this environment that I put myself into willingly, willfully, even full knowingly. And I accepted these terms. It's just, inexperienced, novice, beginner. What can I say?
Yeah.
So bad faith,
right? And so that's the natural. That's like the default position when you get into a conversation with somebody, that you want to be good faith because you want to understand them and you want them to understand you. But when it gets to debate territory, then it has more to do with what do the people who are going to view this video think than what does the other person think.
Oh, got it.
Because that's what they're doing. And I mean, same with me. That's why when Rachel was talking about, well, I had the prompt, but you agreed with the, that's why I jumped on that. I'm like, you made the prompt. I didn't say, because it's for the audience to show some weakness in her. And I have to pounce on that because that's what she is doing. They're there in bad faith. So you have to respond in kind. And so similarly, we talk about, there's and a heated debate isn't necessarily a bad faith debate. Especially if you're in the Discord when we're in the after party all the time, we get into heated debates where we're like, no, what the fuck are you talking about? I just said A, B, C, and you're like, we get into it, but that's because of genuine misunderstanding, not because we're trying to obfuscate the other person's message or trying to win. That's the difference between good faith and bad faith. Are you trying to win or are you trying to understand?
So basically, we're trying to break bread, but we're trying to break it in half. So we meet in the middle.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. And I mean, well, not even necessarily meet in the middle. Because in a debate, you're trying to say, I'm like, if you and I were debating right now, the goal would be for me to say, no, my idea is better than your idea. But there's a way to do that where I am legitimately saying, okay, what is your idea? And I gather in that information. And then I use that information and say that, no, you are wrong because of these reasons. Not because you're a bad person, not because you're stupid, not because you're whatever, but because I genuinely believe this idea is better than your idea.
Okay,
that's the free marketplace of ideas. And sometimes you're wrong and sometimes you're right.
Okay, so is the power of the individual who loses, admits he lost, and then praise you for basically defeating his idea that he has in that agreement.
Exactly. Yeah,
and then you get your reward, and people. Okay, got it. Praise you.
So exactly, perfect example of like, let's say you're arguing with somebody, and you're going back and forth. It gets heated, and then the other person says something that makes you be like, oh, all right, you were right. That's good faith because it's about the idea that your ego is not tied to your position. It's I believe this idea is better, and then the other person the other person demonstrates that their idea is better than yours. Good faith would be accepting the better idea is the better idea.
And then also quickly, life after the debate, because now you have to ponder in the results of the debate that had just taken course and how that's going to affect not only you but people around you. But obviously you are more important because you're the one actually taken upon this challenge.
Right.
And now it's the new challenges.
Yeah, and that's why I always go back over the debates when I have somebody on to debate, because number one, it can be very it tends to get heated because most of the debates I have are more in the religious realm than the political realm, and people's religious beliefs are very emotionally tied to them. Fair enough. And so a lot of times it does get heated, but and I'll feel like I'm being a dick. But then I go back and watch it, and I'm like, wait a minute. Even though I was angry, even though I was yelling, I was just following along. And every single debate we've done so far that I've reviewed, I've been like, wait a minute. I was fine. It was the other person. After spending so much time thinking that I was, I did something wrong, that I got too emotional, that I did this, that I did that. It's like, no. That's why you need to go back and always rewatch your debates, because when you're in the moment, it's a very different thing than stepping back and watching with hindsight.
Okay, so real quick, instead of good and bad faith, wouldn't it be correct and incorrect faith? Will be a more proper term?
Not necessarily, because there's a gradient. There's a spectrum. And so you could be you can come to the table in good faith and then get emotional and get angry and then move more into bad faith. And you're not necessarily there to prove everybody wrong and make people look stupid, but you're getting emotional. You're digging your heels in on something that you've been proven wrong, or you're trying to dodge questions and stuff. So there's a little bit of a spectrum. So I wouldn't say it's like, because correct and incorrect is more of a binary. You're either correct or you're incorrect. Good and bad is more of a spectrum where you can be more good or more bad.
Understood.
Mark said, that way to phrase it is a good way to keep them on their toes. What? I don't know what you mean. It's a solid, but I don't know what you mean. But I'll assume you have a good point. All right, I'm back in.
Well,
Like how it came about.
you can't claim that women are oppressed and also claim that they're
Women
privileged.
definitely were do you disagree?
How could they be privileged and be oppressed?
Wait. Do you disagree that women were never oppressed? Do
Yes,
you agree?
I agree.
You agree? Wait, I'm sorry.
That's
Let me rephrase that. Do you
That's just stupid. Yeah, no woman ever has been oppressed. Like, what?
believe that women have never been oppressed?
Yes, I believe that women were never.
Seriously?
Yes, as a
How
whole
could you
group.
possibly
Who
think to
oppressed
believe
them?
that?
Who oppressed them? Listen, I
half the
saw your
God.
thing with Andrew, and you
The
love to do this thing
government.
where you're like, but my presupposition, like you've never examined why you
Damn, I hate to do this. But I did not. I did not. Okay, fuck it. If she was good faith, I wouldn't do this.
You're
but
like, but my
God damn. What is that?
presupposition,
That's a whole other fold.
like you've never examined why you believe that. Why do you believe women were oppressed? You tell me why you believe that.
This is literally a historical fact.
It's not a historical
Not
fact.
having the right to vote. Women are oppressed currently in this world. Right?
Oh,
Right?
explain.
Less
I'd
so-
love to know how.
What do you mean?
Any
they can't
example?
drive. They can't go out without.
They can't drive?
In certain countries, absolutely, women are oppressed. Are you
Where?
literally denying that women are not oppressed in this world? In certain
Well, we're talking.
So this is when, we're not, this is why we are, I like that idea of the spectrum, because as he is getting more emotional, he's like, oh, come on, what do you mean? That's not as good faith, because you're just trying to use the emotion of like, what? Oh my goodness, as an argument of...
I do have a question though.
We got to give Nick the dilly on that. Yeah, well, we have the booty do when her stomach stick out more than her booty do, but she's got a booby do. I lost my train of thought. Gabriel, what were you gonna say?
So basically, are children oppressed?
I mean, I would say in the context that we're talking about, yes, there are certain things that children can't do according to the government.
Well, also their parents. The parents oppress them. Like, you can't get it your way. Like,
Yeah.
no, you're not gonna eat that candy every day. Like, no, it's like what we feed you. Well,
Yeah, and again,
now,
I wouldn't use the word oppression there, but that's
Agreed.
what I was trying to
Mhm.
get at. So, you know, about saying restricted, yeah, restricted, and it's like that's if we had gotten to that point in my segment where it's like, okay, it's not oppressed, then what is it when the government says you can't do it? And she would say restriction. I'd be like, okay, so do we disagree that women have been restricted by the government in the past? Obviously not, because of the 19th Amendment. So that is why people became feminists. And that's why we have what it is today, for that reason. Whether you want to call it oppression or anything else, that's what we're talking about. Semantics. It's like, well, that's not the right word. Even though you have the right idea, you didn't use the right word, so I win.
Fair.
Literally denying that women are not oppressed in this world. In certain
Well, we're talking
obviously
about
in America, right? I'm
America,
an American.
right?
Women have equal rights, and I think this is a great society. But to suggest that women have not been oppressed in the past,
We're
in this
in-
country,
we're
in the
in the
past,
West.
Yeah, see, like she's all about like, well, in America, yeah. And so I would have gone into something like, so do you not think that America is better than those other countries? That's where you could have been like, well, yeah, they are. Okay. And so you don't think that people having the right to express their whatever, you don't think that makes it better? And if she says no, well, hey, all right then. Now we have an actual point of disagreement where we can say no. Some of us actually do believe that despite the idea that the nuclear family and the man at the head of the household is an ideal cultural situation, that some of us think that politically each person should have their own vote.
that women have not been oppressed in the past,
We're
in this
in
country,
we're in the
past,
West. Yeah, in this country.
in the past in this country, and throughout the world currently, to suggest that they're not oppressed is
Show me an
absurd.
example of
It's
what
Right. And say he's just saying it, but he's not giving any examples. Shout out to Box again with the $5 said restrictions can be oppressive. This motherfucker. Negasar said restrictions can be oppressive, but restrictions are also laws about crimes. You got to tease it out on a case-by-case basis.
yes, situational circumstances.
Which is, again, why it's a bad prompt for a 5-minute situation where you didn't give us time to think about it beforehand. Loser. Just that simple. Thank you
And
again.
they had about what, a day, a week. They knew this was gonna happen. They knew this. James contacted them. We were all in the group chat. Like we knew this was gonna be foreseen. Now, whatever decision happened the day before, I mean, out in the lobby, I wish that was recorded. That would have been, well, you know, so strange too. It seems like our lobby conversations is not only on par, but superior. That's what I felt like.
That's because they were there in good faith. They were not there trying to get clicks, trying to win. They were there in genuinely engaging in the conversation. That is what we mean when we say good faith. This is bad faith because she's not engaging in the conversation. Whenever somebody brings the conversation to somewhere where she doesn't like it, well, that's a different thing. Well, it's directly connected to the prompt you gave, so you shouldn't have gotten prompts so similar.
And that's a mistaken error. So
yep, absolutely. Shout out again, Box, for out sponsoring himself, the only person to feed Morty today.
Currently, to suggest that they're not oppressed is absurd.
Show me an example of American women. That's not an argument. Show me an example of American women ever being oppressed comparatively to men.
There's a time in this country where women can't vote.
There was time in this country where men couldn't vote.
Yeah, but you just asked for a time when women were oppressed compared to men. And so again, if you want to say that the government not allowing you to do something is not oppression, then we need to define what that is, because that's what all of us are referencing. You are dodging the point by going back to the semantics of that's not oppression. Okay, then what is it? What is it, sweetie? Whatever you want to call it. That's what we're talking about.
There's a time in this country where women can't vote.
There was time in this country where men couldn't vote.
So
The
what's that-
majority
all
of
right,
men could not
that's-
vote.
That is not a retort. That is just saying, well, that's true. You basically just said that's true, but so you basically agree with me. So
No,
I asked
how
you
were
asked me-
men? How were men oppressing women if those men themselves didn't
You
have
asked-
the right to
you
vote
asked me
either?
to say-
So men with no voting rights oppressed women with no voting
No, no,
rights.
No, the men with voting rights and the ones in power oppress the men and women that didn't have voting rights. Stupid. It's not complicated, but if you act like it's stupid, then the people who can't get Andrew Wilson's dick out of their mouth will just be like, oh yeah, got him. Well, so men got to vote first, then black men, then women, then black women in that order.
Interesting.
But it's not oppression. It's not oppression, Box. This is not true because it's not oppression. It's not true because it's not oppression. Or maybe it's true and it's just not called oppression.
The right
you
to vote
asked me
either.
to say-
So men with no voting rights oppressed women with no voting
No, no,
rights.
you asked me to give you an example of when women were oppressed, and I did. And then
By
your
whom?
response was just that, yeah, men were oppressed too.
Yeah. So how
so you
how
agree
could
with me.
feminism
Cool.
be a reaction to oppression
How
by
is
men?
it not?
Because they weren't
every
oppressed.
action is
Men were actually have always been.
But again, to his point, you just agreed that they were. You said men were oppressed too. So you agree that women were oppressed after all of this talk about women not being oppressed. Whether or not we here agree that women are oppressed, specifically under that word, you just in this conversation admitted that you believe, along with men, that women were oppressed. And now you're walking that back. Shout out to Nasir Pluto. Welcome to the party. Said not voting is not oppression, though. Definition backs this. And totally fair. Totally fair. Again, we did not know the prompts before, and I asked her, okay, fine. I'm willing to accept that that's not called oppression, but I'm talking about the government not allowing you to do a thing. What would you call that? And she couldn't answer my question. And so she wasn't, she would not engage in the conversation that I was having because she would not define the situation that I was talking about. I called it oppression, and you said it's not oppression. Fine. I'm willing to throw away the semantics of oppression. But I'm talking about the situation. The government did not allow you to do the thing. And just like Chris here just got her to say that men were oppressed, she said men were oppressed because they couldn't vote. But when the women can't vote, then it's not oppression. So what is it? Fine, it's not oppression. What is it then? That's what we're talking about. Buck said, men somewhere along the line trusted future men enough to give the vote to everyone. Time will tell if that was wise. I think it's wise, says Box, but I don't know about that. I've been going closer and closer and closer to the idea that maybe women's right to vote has destroyed this country. I don't know. I think I want them I want people to be treated equally, but I don't know. Exactly why definitions are important. And I tried to get a definition and she dodged me. Women, right? Welcome to the party.
How
By
is
men.
it not?
Because they weren't
every
oppressed.
action is
Men were actually, women have always been privileged compared to men. Always.
Women?
Throughout all of history. Yes.
No.
Yes.
No.
What do you mean?
Yep, I live in Jersey. I feel you there.
Come on.
Oh,
Like I said, women don't
hold on. Let me back that up.
actually, women have always been privileged compared to men. Always.
Women?
Throughout all of history. Yes.
No.
Yes.
Come on.
What do you mean? Come on. Like I said, women don't have to. Women have never had to die in
Don't
battle.
live in the Middle East and tell me that same thing. That's insane.
That you could argue that they're even privileged there comparatively
Stop.
to the men.
Stop. You don't believe that. You
I
really
do believe that. Absolutely. Where in
See, this indignation is not argumentation. Oh, come on. Oh, why? You gotta be kidding me. You can't do that. You can't do that. And again, I understand we only have the 5 minutes and you're reacting things on time. But with the privilege of hindsight, you can't do that. You can't do that. Like I said, this country started going downhill when we let the women folk vote. That is not a sentence. Maybe. I'm going to say yes.
the Middle East, and what are you talking about? Are you talking about the Taliban? Are you talking about Saudi Arabia? Saudi Arabia has become very progressive,
Go
and
to
women there can
Afghanistan.
Yeah, in the last 5 years, they allowed them to start fucking driving. Oh, so feminist.
Are you talking about the Taliban? Or are you talking about Saudi Arabia? Saudi Arabia has become very progressive,
Go
and
to
women there
Afghanistan
can work
tell
and
me
they
that
can drive.
women,
And
go to Afghanistan and tell me women are privileged.
well, how are they
privileged.
not?
Stop it. It's a rhetorical question. She's asking the same question.
Who are you
See, this
appealing
is-
to here?
Yeah, right. That's not a good look when you're like, oh, whoa, whoa. It's like when on the Raging Tomato, when we're like, Sarah, can you make him stop? You gotta hold your own. You gotta hold your own. Yeah, we figured that out, boss. We figured that out.
Question. She's asking the same question.
Who are you appealing to here?
The camera.
So if let's just grant you that the Taliban is an oppressive regime. I'm not
Crazy. The Taliban being I don't know about that, Rachel. You're going pretty far. The Taliban is oppressive. I don't know. I don't know about that.
let's just grant you that the Taliban is an oppressive regime.
Wait, it's literally grant me regime? Seriously?
Well, you would have to take into account all the ways that men are also oppressed under the Taliban regime, which
No, you don't. No, you don't. Just because men are also oppressed doesn't mean that women are not oppressed. You stupid fucking person. That's not how logic works. That's not how logic works. Yet again, a false dichotomy. So if the men were oppressed, that means that the women weren't oppressed. No! And notice that neither the two of the Wilsons or Jake Rattlesnake will give me more than 5 minutes of their time because they know I'm gonna bring it.
Regime. I'm not.
Wait, it's literally grant me that they're an oppressive regime? Seriously?
Well, you would have to take into account all the ways that men are also oppressed under the Taliban regime, which you could argue.
Also, did you say also oppressed? So you agree that the women are oppressed?
Stupid. Into account all the ways that men are also oppressed under the Taliban regime, which you could argue is much worse. They are sent to fight and blow themselves up and die for things that they probably don't want to if they had the choice.
What about it?
But let's stick to America because the topic was, it's more here. So in the United States, women have never been oppressed. You know that women have always had higher rates of literacy.
Greetings.
Hello.
All right, Gabriel is up, and I think we're gonna take it down after this. So again, we want that feedback. We want to get better at this. So let us know what is good. Nick said, "Really? I heard they were a bunch of really good dudes. I just don't know what to believe anymore." Yeah, right. The Taliban is just
High five.
Especially when it comes to women.
No high five.
Hello. Can you please repeat the question?
So the prompt is feminism or women's liberation was not a reaction to oppression by men.
It can be.
What?
Could the oppression be of a different form that led to the...
Bro, I saw could it can be in the...
Yes.
And like, it's clearly you meant, but it could be. But like, on the spot, it's just a slip, but... I didn't know where that came from, and it's fucking hilarious. All right.
Could the oppression be of a different form that led to this revolution?
That's logically possible, but you'd have to give me an example or demonstration of how you think that's the case.
Okay. How about the failures of institutions that has occurred? For example, the separation of church and...
I mean, that's what happens when you fuck your cousin for 6 generations.
Okay. How about the failures of institutions that has occurred? For example, the separation of church and state, the failure of the church to educate these women has allowed them to be victimized by those who obviously desire divisions.
Why do you think women weren't allowed to be educated?
Because they were oppressed.
Well, I do believe they should have been educated.
They were educated. I was actually just about to tell the guy who sat down before you, women have historically always had higher rates of literacy and high school graduation for as long as we've been tracking in this country, which is about 1790. So we're talking about the early founding of the nation. Women were actually more educated than men. And part of the reason for this is women were the ones that educated children, and they weren't sent off to, work in infrastructure jobs or farming at, 12 or 14 years old, the way that men were. They weren't having to go and die in battle or anything like that. So women being at home got more education than most men historically.
Understood. Now, could that have been corrupted from the beginning? For example, would be beginning, middle, and end of a story. Education begins at a format where you began, depending on the topic that you have a desire to learn, or at least you should have been taught. Could that have been manipulated form of education that has occurred and people weren't aware of it, and that in due time, this revolution, feminism, was just an expected outcome that could have been prevented but never was addressed?
I really don't know what you mean by that.
What I mean is someone lied to these women.
Oh, yes,
whether it be
absolutely.
themselves or maybe a combination of both.
So notice how you went on a long diatribe to eventually come to these women were lied to. The ability to take that idea and distill it down to the women were lied to in the first place, half your time is gone now. And so that is the skill of taking these ideas, because there's so many different aspects to all of this stuff. And so you have this thing and that thing and that thing and that thing and this thing and this thing, and you need to somehow connect them all together. But the skill is is being able to see the through line and being able to distill that. So that was it's good to be extensive in what you're explaining. But again, with the time, the ability to see, oh, okay, I don't have that much time. The women were controlled, or what you said.
Now, also, when I went into these debates, it was, and then the most recent debate video that they dropped, you could see that for me, it was not only having the debate, but the life after the debate that I can reflect and actually point out these people's individuals, even my own thought process of how did we reach these conclusions. So it's a good thing to be added on later on to solve these problems. At the end of the day, we need to solve these problems one way or another, even if it means through a debate with its most handicapped limitations. So, yeah.
5 fucking minutes. 5 fucking minutes. All right.
I really don't know what you mean by that.
What I mean is someone lied to these women.
Oh, yes,
whether it be
absolutely.
themselves or maybe a combination of both.
Fact.
And or
Yes.
another third party that desired their outcomes, just
Yeah.
using them as pawns to
Yeah,
meet the
I
ends
think
of the
that's definitely true, and that's one of my evidences for the fact that feminism
Like evidences? You mean one of your pieces of evidence?
was not some kind of grassroots reaction to abusive oppression by the evil patriarchy. So
Okay, so evil patriarchy. Is there an opposite of evil patriarchy, which is a good patriarchy?
I think we've always had a benevolent patriarchy. I think it's been framed that patriarchy, which just means rule by the father, has always been some kind of evil and nefarious attempt to just keep women down and make them into slaves, when that was honestly never the case.
Would you
Yeah, Boggs. I think if it was maybe 3 of us with 15 minutes, I think that they could have gotten 21 minutes, 21 minutes. Maybe it goes to 30. But especially with Andrew Wilson, people want to see long form debates. So I would have loved to, even if they were going to do this with 5 minutes per topic, I would have loved if they would give us all of the topics and then we do 25 minutes of all of the topics. And then you talk about what you talk about in that 25 minutes.
Oh,
They would have done the same. Yeah. Go ahead.
You know, it would have been funny too if we actually have a whole 24-hour, just just a full.
Oh, you mean
long
like
day
they
to debate. Oh, that would be great.
Must be nice. But you got to be named Wilson for that.
Attempt to just keep women down and make them into slaves, when that was honestly never the case.
Would you agree that is the role, rules and regulation of the father to guard and protect his daughter, and obviously his wife, who's being the bearer of his children?
Mhm.
Okay, so what if that father got corrupt?
Well, there's always going to be some corruption in hierarchies. It's unavoidable. That doesn't mean the whole hierarchy is bad.
That's a lie.
Okay, so at what?
Go ahead.
That's a lie. What she just said is a lie.
Here, let me run it
Because
back.
Yeah.
That father got corrupt.
So what if the father got corrupt?
Well, there's always going to be some corruption in hierarchies.
There's always going to be some form of corruption. Well, sorry, I thought you were a Christian. When you look up, that's the incorruptible. The kingdom of God can never be corrupted. They win. So, come on. You just made a mistake. You can say up to 99.99%. I agree with you. anything less than perfection, anything outside of holy, like that's where like reviewing these things is very vital, like how we are gonna say certain words. Because if the same thing is like the possibility, the probability. Same thing with Patrick Bet David with his recent video of Jubilee, when he mentioning, unfortunately, there's no way to 100% of, oh, I had the phrase too, basically to solve people's problems 100%. Okay, when someone like me comes across and say, that's a lie. What happened when there is 100% of a way to actually solve people's problems? You just threw that out the window and just accepted everything else, even the minimalistic. But the whole point is it never should have been at all. No one should have been sacrificed, period. But because you open that door, you let even one get sacrificed, you already lost. Well, that's the general premise. So.
Completely agree. Completely agree. So she made a little whoopsie.
That father got corrupt.
Well, there's always going to be some corruption in hierarchies. It's unavoidable.
So I will give her the benefit of the doubt. And when she said there's always going to be corruption in hierarchies, that doesn't mean that the top of the hierarchy is corrupt. Because she would say the top of the hierarchy is God, but the rest of the hierarchy is people who are behaving, as good people, following the Bible, whatever the fuck metric she would use.
I would agree in that point, yes.
So I think that's more what she means, not that within the hierarchy itself is automatically corrupt because there is corruption at the top. I think she's saying beneath the top, then there is a corruption there.
Understood.
Well, there's always going to be some corruption in hierarchies. It's unavoidable. That doesn't mean the whole hierarchy is bad.
Yeah, right.
Okay, so at what point will the whole thing be corrupt?
I think that's kind of a slippery slope type of a fallacy where it'd be pretty hard, or a continuum fallacy where it may be hard for you to like prove a point. But my contention is that there was no overall plot, no overall nefarious oppression of women by men as a whole. So if you can tell me where there was.
Well, wouldn't it would be, let's go to Christian ethics, where technically we're at war, technically Christianity at war, a division of good and evil. You have an opponent that is obviously an essential essence, living entity who decided to do evil and desires to breed death and destruction. Manipulating certain individuals, let's say desire greed and wealth or power, may that be a combination, whether or not, fooled, gullible human beings, well, let's just say women who weren't properly taught to rebel in different form of ways, like feminism. And there's no safeguarding because obviously the separation of church and state allowed this because the church has failed in their own aspect as well as the nation. They allowed these problems to being stirred.
Well, you could say that, the Protestant foundings of the nation and the idea of separation of church of state was a bad idea. Correct. I don't know that that's relevant to the claim that most people make, which is that feminism was simply a reaction to abuses of men oppressing women. So,
well, could the reaction be forthcoming? Could have been like forewarned, negligence may have occurred.
I mean, it could. I don't know what it has to do with the prompt. Sorry.
So again, we're going back to the idea that being able to dispel and articulate the ideas that you have in your head is a difficult thing to do. Learning, I mean, we all talk to people, so it seems like talking is talking, but it don't fucking work like that. It is it's difficult, and especially when you're put on the spot, when you only have a short period of time, it's difficult. But
it's even more difficult when you're very inexperienced and a novice beginner, especially having discourse. If someone like me, who's a loner, doesn't have that much practice in having conversational discussions, it's even far more difficult. And then the expectations of flipping on a switch and you become someone who's very well versed is not realistic. Ideally, it's a wonderful idea, but when you're in it, you're getting tested. Now, it's just a whole nother thing where experience, guidance, not let your ego get the best of you, being humble, not being proudful. When you're proud, you literally blinding yourselves to the facts of what is occurring. And then that leads to someone being prideful. When you have so much pride, there will be a fall because that is your way of getting humbled. because you cross that line, and you either you don't even recognize it, or you're so prideful that it doesn't even matter to you no more. When you're supposed to matter, you're supposed to care. Like I care 100%, whether it matters or not, because that's what it demands. The situational circumstances we're in. Either I want to know everything on the table, or I don't. And that's just, but then it's also the level of growth, because certain knowledge is a factor, so is wisdom, but then is the implementations of it, like the responsibility. There's one thing to obtain it, it's another thing to maintain it, but then you have to use it. If not, you lose it. So
Yeah, and it's a lot. Like these are big ideas, and it's not again going back to the 5 minutes. It's just not enough time. But even if we had the time, it's still difficult to wrangle all this into a something that you can easily understand. So I think you did great, Gabe. And also, it is a skill you get better at. Don't be too hard on yourself there. You climb the mountain one step at a time. There you go. There you go. And Nick agrees. So I think if you're down, we could definitely do this. There's 3 more already out, and then I think they're gonna have 2 more out. I anticipated they were only 25 minutes, so I thought we maybe would get through them more quickly. But I enjoyed the discussion, so we definitely can do this again. If you guys enjoyed it, definitely let me know. Everybody, right now, I want you to go leave a comment on the stream. Just comment Morty or comment Gabriel or comment with Wilson Suck or whatever the fuck it is. Leave a comment. And before we go, I want to give Gabriel the floor. I know you're getting stuff started up. We were hoping to get you from the podcast studio, but we had some audio issues. But we will definitely get that going. So the floor is yours, sir. Tell people where they can find you, what you are about, and who the hell are you?
Well, as far as the name of the channel, I got to get used to this public speaking thing too, by the way. So truth be told, I'm starting next month in October. That's the idea. That's the prime reveal. I'm going to go into the whole aspect of problem solving problems. That's what I really desire to provide, a service for humanity, especially new ideas that will break through reality in a manner or a way that will be the utmost extreme, but necessary. It's essential to the cause to literally, my goal is to diminish realistically, but to ideally end humanity's unnecessary suffering, whatever category that may be. I desire to be all of them. That's just a fact. But the difficulties is problem solving. It's like we need more of this. It's one thing to be a detective towards homicides, but it's something more deeper to the cause. We have a problem with mental illness. How are we going to handle this? How are we going to fix this? Putting more laws and restrictions ain't going to solve something that is internally corrupt. So it's really, we need the truth to really based upon this nation to go back to. But we need to figure out what is the truth. We can't accept a lie masquerading as truth. We got too much of that. So that's going to be what the podcast is going to be about. Especially,
what's the name again? Where can people find it?
Truth be told, I got a managing team. I'm pretty sure it's still locked right now. Truth be told, very simple. It will be up in October. That's all as far as I know. This is all pre-work, by the way. So Instagram, TikTok. Eventually, I'll go ahead and have an X account. But going into the field of having a conversational discussion, having a variety of conversation with Indian Jesus, I'm very grateful for the opportunity to even have this conversation with you, especially out in the debate field, debate mind. But again, if I could just eliminate debating and just elevating it to like an intellectual duel where we can actually get these good faith, but with greater expectations of results.
Yeah, I have a feeling that in general, I think the debate bro thing is going to start to kind of fade out of popularity. Like there's definitely there's definitely always going to be that part of the internet But I think people are getting tired of the trying to win thing, and people needed that as a way, as like an entry level to debates. But now I think people are more interested in just rational conversations. And
Yes.
so I think if you if you focus on that, and as opposed to being a debate, I've also done the same, where it's like, these debates are not, unless it's unless the topic is very well defined and it's something very, very specific, then it doesn't really make sense to debate it, unless you're willing to go and use a bunch of these tactics and try to do this and that. And I think people are starting to see it. People are starting to be like, no, I get, like, cool, great. You can be like Destiny, or you can be like Andrew Wilson, and you can have all the moves, and you can memorize the fucking, you can be like Lex Luthor in the new Superman, like X5, X7, 3-5. You're like, okay, cool, bro. But what are your actual ideas? How do you engage with people? And how do I, as the viewer, how do I engage in these types of conversations? And how do I get to be somebody who is able to express myself, and people aren't angry at me for it, even if they disagree? That's where I think we're moving. And I think if you hold on to that, because you're good at that. You're good at being into what people are saying, and listening, and all that stuff. You're good at that. And so that, I think, is your wheelhouse. So thanks again for coming on, having this great conversation. You did really well, buddy. Really enjoyed your contributions tonight. Have a great night. Yeah, we got Adam coming in late. Welcome, brother. You missed the whole thing, but only part one. Only part one.
Yeah, that's another thing. Yeah.
Box said, I played a role so hard the other night. No one even knew who I was. That's pretty scary to some degree. Well, your picture is a box, so not that hard. But
wasn't there 10, by the way, 10 videos, 5 with Wilson and 5 or 4?
I think so. I'm not 100% sure, and they may decide not to use some, but I think so. But yeah, so we will definitely do this again.
Also, the possibility of doing 2v2 debates. Like, I'm open with, you being my teammate, and we'll just pre-plan. Because look, I'm just saying, I love the idea of pre-prepping, like to Batman, like prep, and then just destroy. But then offering a hand and like, hey, it's okay, I've been there. Like, here's the truth. There you go. Now get out that door. No, it's just like one of those things. It's just. Yeah.
Word up. Yeah, man. I totally feel like I was sleeping all day. I was like, I'm not doing anything. Like, yesterday was such a heavy day.
Yes.
And I honestly was thinking of being like, Gabriel, maybe we'll just push this, because yesterday I woke up and I was doing a bunch of shit, and then I found out about this. It was constantly, and then I did the stream. We had everybody up here, and then we were in the after party, and like, I went to the opposite. I went from I was angry yesterday, and then it wasn't until I was scrolling through TikTok this morning, and I forget who it was, but somebody just had the statement from Trump, and I don't know why, but that fucking struck me. And then, like I said, I couldn't sleep last night because I was just thinking about his wife, and it's like, not only going through all of that through the day, even before the incident, like, okay, we have to get the kids, we're bringing them to the campus, we're going to do that, like, that's already a big day. And then that happens, and then she, having to deal with the updates, the news, the people dancing and celebrating that her husband and the father of her children was murdered in broad daylight. And then at some point last night, she was alone. And just there. Kids are asleep. Everybody else is asleep. And she's just there. And I mean, if you've ever lost anybody close, I mean, I've never been married, so I've never been had anybody that close to me pass. But, you know, I mean, as I've told you guys a million bajillion times, my friend that passed in 2013, that was my brother. I'm not close to my family, so that was the closest person that I knew. And to this day, I'm not the same. So it's rough. Yep. It's not cool. And I see a lot of people that are, you know, that like you're saying, Box, that people are still very angry. And I understand it, but it's not a good thing. We want to bring the temperature down. We want to bring the temperature down.
So the way I see it is that anger leads to wrath.
Mm-hmm.
Angry leads to disappointment. Like the disappointment of this even occurring. Like, why did this even occur? For me, it's the moment, the second commandment from Christ would be to love your neighbor like you love yourself. Even if when you're basically your enemy, your neighbor is your enemy. My thing is, if I'm going to have to treat my neighbor who's my enemy like an actual brother that I truly care for, is recognizing that my brother or my sister failed to be guarded and protected, whether from themselves or from others, especially from others, the one who manipulates and to create chaos that basically distort order, because really it comes from disorder. So another layer to it would be like transgenderism, the whole aspect of you're a boy to a girl to a boy. That idea is dangerous because now we're seeing the results and the outcomes.
Yep.
Because how far will that rabbit hole go? And remember, these are people too that are living with this, going through the medications with taxpayers' money being provided by their surrounding environment. So like this needs to end, in my opinion, needs to be diminished, needs to be end to a degree that is righteously justified. Meaning we need to go back to the basics. We need to know what is the basics.
There you go. And that is exactly what we're trying to do when we talk to people like Andrew Wilson or any other Christian about what is going on. The idea is that a lot of us don't believe in those truth claims, even though we agree that those values are good. But there's a lot of other people who don't let themselves believe that the values are good because of the fact they don't believe the truth claims. And if we want them to enact the values, then we have to do better at treating people like myself, like yourself, like the people in this video that we're not wrong. And that doesn't mean that there is not issues with people going after Christianity and all of that, but the same way where, you know, people on the right are now talking about, I'm no longer against violence. It's like, well, why are you angry then? Why are you angry? If you're for political violence, well, you just got it. So either you're against it or you're for it. And I'm against it. So, all right, brother. Any last words for the people before we close it down?
I appreciate the opportunity again from Indian Jesus. I appreciate the chat, appreciate the feedback, appreciate all the feedback, to be honest. Look, I'm recently new to all this. I usually just be a loner. But then again, the situational calls for people like us, whatever deficiency that we have, to work through it, to get past it, to improve, and for the benefit of not only ourselves, but for the community, no matter how small nor big. It really is supposed to be both, unified as one, unity and agreement to accept and to move forward with the results of solutions are possible, especially at 100%. The moment we deny 100%, like, it's unreasonable. To me, it's one thing, it's an idea. It's another thing, an idea can be made real, but what's real can be enacted. Restrictions, to me, has to be effective. You know, I don't love vanity at all. Vanity is in vain. The whole point, it's wasting time. I don't want to waste time. There should be no time to be wasted. We got brothers and sisters every day in all of these categories suffering unnecessary. So my thing is, these are my goals. This is what I aim for. And diminish unnecessary suffering, not just here, but all around the world.
Oh, yeah, brother. So we will definitely, everybody, keep a lookout for the Truth Be Told podcast coming soon. Gabriel, thank you again for hanging out and adding your perspective to all this. We very, very much appreciate it, and we will definitely do this again. You have a good one, brother.
Agreed, likewise to all.
Peace. All right, guys. So yeah, I honestly, there's 3 other videos here that I thought we were gonna get through, and we didn't quite get through them. But that only means we've got more stuff to go over. Niggas saying political violence of any kind is unacceptable. Period. With a T. Period with a T. Yep. Adam said, I just want to see people wake up and see their humanity first before their identities. And you know, I won't say any names, but there's somebody in the Discord who was telling me that, you know, because of all of this, they are afraid to be talking about their beliefs because they you know, they are afraid that they might be next and so on and so forth, going out to buy a gun and all this stuff. I mean, you should definitely have a gun, but this is the time where you need to get louder. This is the time where you need to get louder. A lot of people are talking about, there is a clip where Charlie talks about, you know, some gun deaths are worth it to have guns. And you know what? Actually, there's something else that I want to show you guys too. And this might be a little, was it on TikTok? Fuck, I think it was on TikTok. If you stick with me, I'll find it. But point being, this cannot be, it cannot be like, just like on 9/11. If you use this as a reason to be like, oh, I'm going to not say anything, then the terrorists win. That, and don't get it twisted, that was terrorism that we experienced. That was domestic terrorism. And they win when you shut the fuck up. So be louder. And yeah, people are talking about how Charlie is talking about how gun deaths are a necessary evil. And yeah, do you think he would disagree with that? Do you think he would be like, oh no, all of the, I would take back everything I said because of the fact that it got me killed? No, not at all. So that is a shout out to our boy Adam for the co-host Morty. Of course, every donation comes with a treat. So let's see. Now that we got some time, let's see if I can find that clip. There was so, and I'm curious how you guys would feel about this too, because it was Charlie Kirk AI voice. Let's see if that does. Somebody made a video of Charlie and
First, I want you to know.
Yes, this is it. Fuck yes. Finally, X search works. Finally, X search works. I am very curious how you guys feel about this, because I can definitely see how you could see this as disrespectful. But also, I can see how it's not. So, what do you think?
First, I want you to know I'm fine, not because my body is fine, but because my soul is secure in Christ. Death is not the end. It's a promotion. Don't waste 1 second mourning me. I knew the risks of standing up in this cultural moment, and I'd do it all over again. Second, do not let this violence divide us further. The enemy wants chaos, fear, and retaliation. Don't give it to them. Instead, double down on truth. Double down on courage. Double down on your faith and on your families. That is how you honor me. Third, remember this. America is worth it. Free speech is worth it. Fighting for the unborn, for families, for sanity in a culture gone mad. It is all worth it. So dry your tears, pick up your cross, and get back in the fight. Do it with joy. Do it with strength. And never ever let evil think it won.
Never let evil think that it won. I don't have the type of, beliefs about the spirit and the soul and whatever to think that would be disrespectful, because I do believe Charlie would say something like that. I wonder if you guys agree or disagree, but shout out to that. I mean, that's who he was. That's who he was. The notion that anybody thinks like, So like on TikTok, I felt the need, I try to keep my politics off of TikTok, but it's Charlie. We couldn't. And so I was talking about something, and somebody made a comment about good guy with a gun is the only thing that stops a bad guy with a gun. And like, what happened to that? I'm like, hold on. Do you guys think that when we say the only thing that stops a bad guy with a gun is a good guy with a gun, that the existence of a good guy makes you impervious to bullets, or puts a force field around you, or prevents the bad guy from doing? Is that what you think we mean? Is that what you think we mean? That's not what we think. That's not what we mean. And so Adam says, I don't think it is disrespectful. I think that was Charlie Kirk. He said things like that all the time. A Box member for 9 months said, take notice that the right is not calling for gun control. At least their consistency, consistently there. Zero hypocrisy detected. 100%. That is what he would say. Thank you so very, very much for being a member. Shout out to all of the disciples. Very much appreciated. And I'm glad you guys feel that way, because I feel the same. But yeah, just this the level of flippancy, I don't know, is that a word? Like the level of not caring and not taking this seriously is such a, like, we knew this, but to the degree that like, oh, y'all really do think this is a video game. They really do think it's a video game. And unfortunately, it's going to take someone like Hassan or Destiny or Dean, Barker, Harry Sisson. It's going to take one of those people getting murked before they understand. And I'm not calling for that. But what the fuck do you expect? We all saw that video. I mean, I'm with you. But let's speak practically. Someone's gonna fuck some shit up. People are angry. Shout out to DJ Isolated. Said, nothing ever happens is more than a meme. It is a strange delusional cope. Yep. I put up a poll about this, and I was curious about what you guys had to say. Let's bring up the poll. So I said, did you watch the footage of Charlie? If you haven't, I wouldn't. You understand what being shot in the neck is, and having blood pour out of the exit wound. Seeing it changes nothing besides making you more emotionally, which is totally justified, but is not necessary to understand the gravity of the situation and can only cloud your judgment. And so we look, and most people said I watched, but I agree. Others don't need to. And only 10% of 29 votes, so about 3 people said I watched it, and so should everybody else. And then we had over a quarter of people that didn't even see it. And well, there we go. And I changed my mind. I reposted this, and I was like, you know what? No, you need to fucking see it. You need to fucking see it. You need to see exactly what the fuck it is that you're celebrating. At least if you're one of those people, you need to see it. Maybe us, we don't need to physically see it. But if you're somebody who is happy about this, not taking it seriously, not any of that, then maybe you need to fucking see it. Maybe you need to fucking see it. Adam said they need to get the guy who did this fast. More people will go to dark places as time goes on. Bingo. Yep. And a possible sad reality is that this might be yet another example of a mass, well, not a mass shooting event, but I mean a giant event that we just hear nothing about. Have we gotten any information on Vegas? Have we gotten any information on Matthew Crooks? Have we gotten any information on Ryan Ruth? No. And the more answers we don't get, the darker people are going to get. Yep. Said I voted that people need to see it, so they know he was a real person and not a game. Bingo. Yep. I reposted it and changed my mind because I completely agree. You need to see it. You need to see it if you are not taking it seriously, because it is not a game. It's hard for me to not think about the idea that, like, obviously I'm no Charlie Kirk, but like that's the type of goal that I'm aiming for, to be somebody like that. And if being that person means that you need a 6-person security team and still you can get blown away, what does that mean? And what it doesn't mean is that I'm going to stop. What it does mean is that there's real risk out there. So the people who are doing the shit that you are too afraid to do, that you don't know how to do, that you're not willing to do, fucking support them, because they need it. We need it. Like I said, I'm gonna start getting more shitty with you guys. I try to be nice and everything. I'm gonna come in, I'm gonna make $7. I can't survive like this, guys. I'm trying to get to a place where I'm changing the world and can potentially get shot in the fucking neck in front of thousands of people. I can't do that on $7, guys. Blog said, when your enemies dislike you so much they relish your demise, you have in fact won. Well, dilly to that. Here, Adam said, our society has been led into whitewashing the violence around us. Yeah. I mean, we can talk about the violence of video games and movies and stuff. I don't think that's the problem. I think the real life violence that we see every fucking day that is not connected to some suburban white kid playing Call of Duty, that is the issue, and an issue it is. So, I didn't necessarily expect to get this down in the dumps, but I do want to thank you guys so very, very much for hanging out. Big shout out to Gabriel. Again, we will definitely come back for a part 2 with this. And let us know. Like we always say, or like I always say, I'm not here to have everybody just kiss my ass and tell me I'm right about everything. When I'm wrong, I want you to tell me. And when we have a debate, understand that we're in a debate because I respect you and you respect me, and we can do that. But if it becomes this thing where it's like, oh, I don't want to get much mad, or I want to be on his good side, that it's not going to work. It's not going to work. Hey, shout out to Adam, gifting some memberships to close the show. Guys, thank you so very, very much. Of course, a treat for Morty. If you were just gifted a membership, make sure you join the Discord. We're not going to be doing I'm not going to be doing an after party tonight. That is for our Monday, Wednesday, Friday streams. I'm emotionally exhausted after the last 2 days. So I see some of you guys in there. I definitely suggest you guys go and hang out. But for tonight, I'm going to pass out, literally. But thank you so very, very much. And of course, you have all of the access to the full server. In fact, just in case, I didn't open it. Why don't we just end, in case you didn't know? Oh, God damn it. What did I just do? Oh, Jesus. Oh, Jesus. Nope. There we go. God, it's on 24. If you guys are enjoying the show, the party
I'm fine.
rages on.
Not because my body is
God.
fine, but because my soul is secure in Christ. Death is not the end. It's
Where
a promotion.
Okay. Take 7. Jesus Christ. Speed it up a little for you. If you guys are enjoying the show, the party rages on 24/7 over in our Discord. The link is pinned to the top of the chat and is absolutely free to join 24/7. We're in there hanging out, having a great time. And guys, it is absolutely free. However, if you are a member of this channel here on YouTube, you can scroll right below that video and hit that join button. Starts at $2.99. There's a few different tiers, but $2.99 will get you in. It gets you members only live streams here on YouTube, all that other good stuff. But it opens up the full Discord server. So we've got the free chat that is open to anyone. Anybody can join and talk. But as you can see, that is just one of our channels. There's a bunch of different channels here, including our disciple chat for members only, our word of the day watch party, where we're talking about all this stuff. And of course, we have the voice channel here, where we are hanging out at this moment.
Don't
And
waste
shout
one-
out to everybody in the Discord server. Say in our after party, hello, and tell them to come and join. There you go, guys. Simple as that. See you there. And remember, guys, if you hit the free link at the top of the chat, you will get a full day pass to the entire server. And since I'm not doing since I won't be in the after party tonight, that will carry over to tomorrow. We do have a full stream, 8 p.m. Eastern. I am live every Monday, Wednesday, Friday, 8 p.m. Eastern, and sometimes whenever I feel like it, dropping 2 posts every single day, either 2 videos or a video and a stream. And today I didn't schedule anything, so you got 3. So definitely, if you are not subscribed, I would greatly, greatly appreciate it. Adam saying, I want you to see and grow and continue being voice. I want to see that too, but I need your guys' help. Thank you, thank you, thank you so very, very much to all of you who are members and who donated. You guys are amazing. Thank you, thank you, thank you so very, very much. Once again, guys, that is Morty, and I have been your host, Lutch, aka the Indian Jesus, here to resurrect the second coming of common sense. Until next time, guys, we are out of here. Peace.